16 tons, what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt.
St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go all myself to the company store.
Sixteen tons,
Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing? There I am. Hi. All right, so I was going to get straight into the set review, but I want to finish eating this stir fry. So we're going to play a couple games of standard, and then I'll get into the set review. The nice thing about that is I also... Oh, now you can hear me. Sorry, you could not hear me before. All right, so I was going to start with the set review, but I want to... I'm going to play a game of standard. Excuse me. I'm going to play a little expedition while I finish eating this, which I don't usually eat while I play, but now's a good time. So this is a speed dredge deck. We're just going to give myself a few minutes. Can I keep this on the back of the acetic lantern? No, I should mulligan for a Nico. If I don't have a Nico, that's okay. Hey, Plastic. Hey, Duo. I'm just eating really quick, and then I will do the set review, but it's all ready to go. Have you seen this deck yet, Duo? I think you like this. Hey, Plastic. This deck's so funny. I just create lots of extra units and play them out. Ooh, heck yeah. How many people play in a game of Escape from Tarkov at a time? Nico! Damn, I really wanted Nico. I thought you were always playing against a lot of other people. This hand's pretty bad, but it's putting on a lot of pressure, and I have a lot of removal. And really, I just need to kill Uther the turn it comes down. A space? Acetic Lantern was a good draw just because I need to dig a little. Nah, I'm too far away from the treasure trove. 4 damage here, 6 damage here. Uther is what we were afraid of and expecting. That was a solid draw. Wait, what? No! Well, oops. I was trying to shoot the Uther. That was a pretty big mistake, but it's fine. That was a severe error. Let's see if we can win anyway. Hey, life is bad. How you doing? I just threw a game because I was eating instead of playing. So it's really bad if he has the second Uther. Ooh, but that's not a second Uther. We're pretty far away from that. Let's see if we can steal a win. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, on their end step, make a 2/4/2 Bone Musics and then Rocky Ride to clear a blocker. That's interesting. That's bad for me. But I'm still pretty happy if I can get the Uther to block it. If I just saved this toxicology, I'd be in great shape. This deck, like all aggro decks, just scoops to Uther. So let's scoop to Uther. Alright, last bite. Sorry, I needed that dinner. One more game. And then we will do the set review. Nope. I'd keep a 1 power hand with an inscribed card if Nico were in it. Slow, but okay. Just having 2 tapped power, 2 depleted power is painful. Great draw, though.
Do not approach the caravan.
So Nico will keep recurring. That's a lot of gas for me. I'll pitch the lantern. Second lantern isn't as good as the first lantern. Let's just take this out as a blocker. Oops. I should not have done that. I should have played the lantern first. Wow, it is hard for me to play and eat at the same time. Alright, done eating. I can pay attention now. I'm so good at splitting my attention until some of my attention is going to my food. Bone music, nice! Very true.
Do not approach the caravan.
I'm fine training one of these for the maggots. The maggots are scary. Alright, I can get this up to a 4 or 5 on my turn. And for now, it blocks. Interesting. This is a weird card in general. Nico's always a welcome addition. So if I catalyze away this Nico, then this becomes a 4/5. Ooh, and this one has double damage. Let's attack. This is also one of the few decks that I can get up to a 6/5. I just need to kill 4 more things. Yeah, I'm totally on board with this. And then I can put down the other Bloodseeker, and next turn use Toxicology to take out the Maggot without discarding a card. I'd rather shoot them. But if I draw a power, I'm also pretty happy giving this unblockable to just bash for 8. I catalyze. I was working on a lot of set reviews today. I didn't get the Eternal set review done before the Magic set review. Ooh, Hunt's bad against me. But my bone music was on top! For 8, I had 16 power worth of bone music coming. It's hard. Reviewing fast is hard.
Keep to the alleys.
That's just crack great. I'm reviewing as fast as I can, Plastic. Oh, it deals double damage to me too! I didn't realize that. Oh, that's a problem with the catalyzes. I can't do that. It's not in me. I can't be wrong. Awesome. It is good advice. Just being wrong is great advice. I can Toxicology the face. Or if I just Toxicology here and attack. Let's catalyze first. Because any burn spell I get gives me back 2 Nikos. 1, 2. And it looks like they do have a spell. That's the worst possible catalyze. I'll just take this out. Not going to discard anything. It looks like they have another bone music. Ah. Well, in that case, I'll just not attack. Alright, any burn spell gets me back 2 Nikos. And that's a huge amount of extra damage. I feel like there's just not enough instruction sizzle. Because, like, I put a lime in a coconut, and there's just a lot of rind. You have to, like, pivot and get all of these lime zest off of it, and then squeeze the juice. But that doesn't sound as good in this song. Oof. Alright, well, 6 consecutive power does make things a little bit more difficult. Yes, that is true. You have to open the lime and the coconut. That song is just incomplete. Ooh, I really do want to ping here. Might as well sing with both. I'm fine with it just being a 4-4, racing a bit. They've got 13 coming in, 14, and I'll be at 18. So Nico down gives me another 4 damage. I think I'm gonna lose just quite a lot of flooding. I'm surprised they took this though. Like against I played 2 catalyze this game and I drew 4 power off the catalyze, but they don't know that. Thanks, Plastic. Good luck.
New world.
If they have lethal, I'm shield down, so I'll just die. But if they don't, they have to leave back. If they don't kill me, they have to leave back blockers. I keep milling my bone musics. They keep hunting away the bone musics, but 16 power bone music would have gotten me there. Yes. This. Any pump spell will do it. But they tapped out, so that's 10-13. It's not quite enough. This isn't really the kind of deck where I can play slow like that. Nah, this is like a weird mid-range Nightfall deck. If I had just drawn a little better, like at any point, I'd be in pretty great shape here. As is, I get to surprise put down the blocker. Yeah. Because they have to block here, some number of these. And I can put down the Nico and then Bone Music. Bone Music was a great draw. I said I'm about to go to war. I don't know if I can see you again. Can I get a kiss? Alright. So they get to ult here, attack for 7, and then it's 8 because of the Nightfall. So I'm going to take as much as I can because I really just want to kill them with the Bone Music. So they need to be able to block both of these and one of these. Ooh, unexpected killing. Hi, puppy. I know I can pet you, but as soon as I start my set review, I won't be able to pet you. I do think Cocoon is actually solid. Like, being an 0-4 blocker is good against the aggro decks. It just doesn't do enough to the Uther decks. Like, this meta is shaping up into aggro and Uther. Let's see if they have a removal spell. Or Backlash. Backlash would be devastating right now. I don't think it's the point to attacking here. I think you're right. Oh, thanks, Life is Bad. Ooh, this is a weird deck. I am playing against a weird deck. Alright, well, a 1-mana 6/7. Yeah. Mostly commons for sure. But I'm glad. I'm glad we're having a new player, and I'm glad that this new player is having a competent game against me. Because, like, he's just playing with uncommons and uncommons, but, like, he's playing. This has been an even game. Good boy. Good puppy. Yes, you're so cute.
Keep to the alleys.
Someone told me that Glider was the best card in draft, and I thought they were talking about Nocturnal Glider. Hey, top deck.
Keep to the alleys.
All right, let's get into this set review. I'm glad I did that though. All right, so we're just doing all the rares, and I will go through them quick as I can. There's a little bit more to say about each rares, but they're way fewer. Hey, Theellen, nice to meet you. How you doing today? Thank you so much for the follow. We're just about to review part 4 of this set review, which unfortunately means I have to change the music. Apologies. To a different playlist. It's so good. Do you mean Ziat? Is there a card that is Ziat itself, or do you mean the Inquisition? Let me check, boss. Alright. I love the Ziat's Inquisition. Is Ziat the one that pulls cards out of hand and then turns it into a Justice Sigil? Why can't I see you? Nope. Here we go. I'll need to scooch a little bit. Alright, I gotta put on a different card because I can't seem to get it centered. What color is Ziot? It's Shadow, right? I think we went through that already. Ziot. So yes. Yeah, card's very good. It's really like it's really well designed. If you manage to hit a card with it, then the presumption is that they can't use the Justice Sigil. So it is essentially a 4-mana 4/4 that just pulls a card out of their hand. So if they happen to be able to use the Justice Sigil, then you still manage to downgrade their card, which is significant. Alright. How's that look? 687, 700 on each side. All right, so that's me exactly centered. And let's line up the chat. All right, we're just setting the scene. So this is going to be, the purpose of this is to record it for the future. I want this to be something that people can refer to at a later date. And that means that I will be taking questions before each color. I'll take a pause for more complex questions after each color. And during the game, oh, I like that. Life is bad. So I'll be answering specific questions each card. I'll talk about the whole card first, and then we'll go into the rest of it. Ziot is fantastic. It's worth, I gave it a value of 6, which is very good. With a floor of 4. So floor is if this whips. This is the worst card it'll be. And if this is a 4-cost 4/4 with Deadly, that's good enough. That's still a good card. I really like this emote set, Life. All right. So I'm going to very quickly go through my system, and I'm going to turn you guys off for that. Just a little bit. A little scooch. Yeah, that's fair. All right. I think the most played rare is going to be Uther. I think Mono Time is just going to take over. Yeah, Uther or the multicolored cards for Constructed are going to be the most played. You're right, Sizzle. You're absolutely right. It's legendary. I do tend to lump them together. All right, so this is part 4 of the set review for Behemoths of Thera, the latest Eternal card game set. I'll be taking questions after each card and before each new color. Today we are covering 3 colors of rares, specifically Fire, Time, and Justice. The Time rares are the best in the set, rares and legendaries. So the Time rares are the best in the set, Fire rares are the worst in the set, but they all have a place, which is good set design, and just really exciting to me in general. Oh, you can't hear the music, so here's the music. And I'll be turning that down a teeny tiny bit, because I want you to be able to hear me. Alright, so I use a system on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is something you should never play. 2 is something you should try never to play. 3 is filler. Your deck will largely be 3s. That's okay. 4 is above average. You want to try and sub as many of your 3s for 4s as possible. 5 is a very strong card. 6 is a card that if you are in that color, you will always play it. It's an overperformer. It's something strong. 7 is a reason to play that color. 8 is a card you should just do your best to play. Like, if you have to splash it, if you have to put in a few sigils, if you have to change your deck or your pick order a little bit, you should for an 8. A 9 is a card you will always play no matter what. Those are very rare. And a 10 is a card that wins the game. And there's not a lot of cards anymore that are 10 in a vacuum or 1 in a vacuum. So I give everything an average value. Floor value, which is the worst the card will be and how you should evaluate it if you have nothing that works with it. A ceiling value, that's the best a card can be. There's lots of cards that don't work unless they're in just the right deck or just the right shell. And then an effort value, which is how difficult it is to bring the card from the floor to the ceiling. So that's really useful for cards like, there's lots of cards that care a lot about weapons or that don't do anything unless you hunt enough. Those will have higher effort values. Some of them are just harder to play, and the cards that are just harder to play with, I will talk about as we go. All right, let's get the chat back on and pull up the first slide, and I'll slide over a little bit. This scoring is for drafts specifically, boss. Thank you, I should have mentioned that. We are going to be talking about cards specifically for drafting, and also this is meant to be pick order. Like, how much effort should you put into taking this card? There are some cards with like a really high ceiling, but you might be able to pick based on that ceiling, pack one, pick one, because you can draft around getting to that ceiling. So the goal is for you to be able to look at this. So if you watch the whole thing, I want you to be good at drafting. But if you want to be like, okay, how good is this card? What do other people think of this card? How hard is this card to get to work? You can come and take a look alphabetically at, okay, let's go look at this fire rare and see how Scuffle would play with this card so that you can have an idea before you go in blind. Okay, so first up we have Ascetic Lantern. Card is a constructed all-star, I love it, but for draft, it's pretty normal. It's just hard to create situations where you can pull value out of the Ascetic Lantern. There's not a ton of like Graveyard Matters effects. You can draft a Bone Music deck, and that's a little bit stronger. But even then, this is just a weak card to pull off the top of your deck in the late game. It is nice that it's hard to kill unless you have a fast spell, but any 3 toughness creature can block the Ascetic Lantern, and it's actually a little worse in this set than it would be in others, because when Hunt gives +1/+1, it makes most Hunt creatures have 3 toughness, have 3 health, and then it's very easy to block the Lantern. You can still pull value out of it, and if you can create situations where you can swap a power for a relevant card later in the game, it's tough, but it's fine. It's a cool card, it's hard to use, it's a very average value. I gave it a 3 with a 4 of 2, ceiling of 4, reasonable effort is what it takes to use it. If it's the last card in your hand, you do just draw a card. If you are very aggressive, this is a great card, so like that ceiling of 4 is in the most aggressive fire decks, because if you can play out the rest of your hand, then it just draws you a card, because you discard a card and then you draw a card, and it's not a cost, it just would, if you can't pay the cost, it just draws you the card. So it's hard to create those situations, but not impossible. There's no easy combo with the Ascetic Lantern, because you can't just put like an unblockable weapon and have it leave the unblockable weapon on it. It'll go back to your hand. All right, Ashen Snake Pit. So this card does not do enough the turn it comes down to justify it. Because if you play this card on turn 5, even if you have advantages left over from hunting, like on turn 5, you can play this card and then play an advantage to create a 3/1 snake. But that snake can't block because it comes in exhausted, and then if you attack the next turn with it, because you have to, because it's reckless, it still can't block. So for a card, there's a lot of problems with the Snake Bit. You can't use an advantage to play the Snake Bit because that's your first spell. And if you play the advantage after the Snake Bit, it's hard to have enough power to do something. If you wait until turn 7 or 8 so that you can play the Snake Pit and a normal spell in the same turn, then you just paid 7 or 8 mana for a 3/1 that can't block and doesn't affect the board. There are situations, there are enough fast spells that if you can trigger this the turn you play it, and then on your opponent's turn, multiple turns in a row, then you can get enough value out of this card to justify it. But even then, it's just a finisher when there are better finishers. So like, it's a lot of effort. I gave it a high effort value to get it from that floor of a 2 to a 5, because you need a lot of fast spells. You need a deck that can survive until you put down the Snake Pit, and then you need a deck that can survive spending a whole turn or 2 playing a card that doesn't create any blockers ever. If you already happen to have a deck that it slots in, go ahead and grab it, but I would almost never first pick it. So I gave it a 2, and with a floor of 2, it's usually going to play at that floor, and a ceiling of 5. Fire rares are kind of average. All right, up next, Dramatist Mask. I love this card. This card is not great. It's essentially you play a random unit out of your deck every turn. So you can build around the mask to get full value out of it, and then you need to fill your deck with Entomb units and summon units. The problem is, if you play a late game with the Dramatist Masks, you will end up with a deck without units. You could build... I'm sure there's a deck that plays cards like that put tokens into play that lets you Dramatist Mask to pull huge units out of your deck. I will be trying to build with this in Constructed. It's very hard to build with in Standard, but +1/+1 in Charge is not a terrible body, especially because you can pick up the mask. So this card, I didn't give it just an unplayable rating because there are enough like reforges and cards that make the mask bigger. If you can make this pull a unit out of your deck every turn and grant +4/+4, then the card's pretty cool. And that's a lot of work to set up, but I do think that you can build a deck that gets value out of this. So I don't want to make it I don't want to give it an unplayable rating, because it's going to feel good to play with a lot of the time. They do have an opportunity to kill it before it comes back around. So you can't build your whole game plan around the Dramatist Mask, because if you're just using it to pull out big units, then your opponent has a chance to kill your small unit before it comes back. Then it's a 2. But if you have enough comes into play abilities and enough cards that care about weapons, often those are the same card, then the card is playable. I love this. So it's like Rivet's Wrench. So there's an episode of Futurama where he says, "We will execute Bender when this random number generator reaches 0. And that's what the Dramatist Mask feels like. You're randomly generating units. So cool, not that strong, but playable. Evening Hair. So I jumped around a lot on the hair. Just in terms of stats. So this is one of the rare cards where you get slightly more out of Nightfall than your opponent. Ideally, you'd be playing this in an aggressive deck, which most Nightfall decks, outside of the time-heavy Nightfall decks, are very aggressive. But it's 4 power for 8 attack worth of stats, because it is a 5/3 with Overwhelm. That's almost good enough. A 5/3 with Overwhelm that makes it Night is a good curve topper for an aggressive deck. But one problem you have with these effects a lot is, like, you will Warcry 4 times, but then you won't draw your Warcry creature in time for that Warcry to be relevant. You are saving up for a rainy day. But since it also makes Night, you get to pick up 2 cards, you're more likely to pick up that unit that gets 3 attack right away. I gave it a floor of 4 because that's what it feels like to be an 8/3 with Overwhelm. The ceiling of 6 is when you're in a more aggressive deck that can take advantage of the Nightfall, and ideally that will have a unit greatly benefit from 3 extra attack and Overwhelm. Maybe something with Charge or something cheap that you can play again in the same turn. Great in the Nightfall decks. I will first pick this often and become an aggressive Nightfall deck. Yeah, This is a good one, too. This is a good way to use the drive. I don't know where these lines came from. That's something to do with slides. How do I make these lines go away? Anybody know? Maybe it's just changing slides? Nope. Help. Lines go away. Nope, that didn't do it. Let me refresh. That worked. Alright, up next we have Ever Burning Beacon. This card is really cool. It is much better than Geometris Mask. We just had 3 bad cards to start with, alphabetically. But most of the fire cards are a lot better, and the time cards are wild. Hey Comet, how you doing? Alright, so Ever Burning Beacon. So this is a win the game card, and it's very expensive, and it is priced accordingly. You gotta be careful with your 7 drops that don't affect the board. But if you get to untap, like if you start your turn with Ever Burning Beacon in play and cards in hand, then you will very likely win the game. Because either you will get to directly throw damage at your opponent, or you will be throwing damage at smaller units. The floor of 2 is low because you don't fall into temptation and put this into your aggressive deck. Fire has a mid-range option or a late game option. You need to make sure that you are exercising that option when you play the Ever Burning Beacon. But it's so powerful in that deck that it is worth the effort. So I gave it an average of 5, even though there's such a disparity between the floor and the ceiling, because you can build around this and make a very powerful deck. If you have a fire deck and then this is your late game win con, that'll do. That's a good one. And there are also lots of situations where you can like make a few 3-1s and then on turn 8 play this and then play the 3-1 to shoot something. It combos with a lot of the other fire cards, so it's work, but this is one of the first card we've seen today that is worth the effort. Alright, so I gave it a 5, floor of 2, ceiling of 8 with a high effort. Alright, up next we have Flamestoker. Flamestoker and Ever Burning Beacon have very similar roles in that they both are triple fire cards that tend to win the game, that are a little fragile to something like a Ruin. The Flamestoker is a little bit weaker because an Infernus is easier to stop than a Beacon. They do combo, but like turn 6 Flamestoker, turn 7 Ever Burning Beacon is a lot of time to take off. Making Infernus every turn will win you the game eventually, but can be stopped because you don't get to build them up. It's a burn spell that can be blocked with a 6/6, and what the Flamestoker does is change your opponent now. The onus is now on your opponent. They have to deal with it. Life, I forgot about your song, and I will put it on a little bit later. Yeah, it just throws 5/5s every turn, and then it'll change. Yeah, so Life, I can't play whatever music I want during the set review. I gotta do that during the normal stream, but I'll do it after this. Okay, so yeah, don't put too much effort into getting the Flamestoker out. Triple fire is a lot, and you need to, it'll break parity if the game is pretty even, but there's enough big creatures to block it that I don't like it that much. Alright, up next we have Furious Bandit. So I gave it a 6 mana 5/5 with hate charge and overwhelm. It's just pretty, or 6/5, it's fine. Like, it's a good curve topper for fire, it hits pretty hard. If you have any advantages, so you, on turn 5, if you hunted an advantage, then you get to draw 2 cards. If this draws you 2 cards on your 6/5 charge, you're probably winning that game. It's worth taking the bandit and putting the effort into getting those hunt cards to make it happen. There's not a ton in fire that hunts. The hunt fire cards are a little weak, but this is a payoff to be fire with something else. It has a place in every color combination, because if you are fire primal or fire shadow, there's a very good chance that you have enough hunt to get that advantage. If you're fire time, then this is just a pretty good threat. Take it high, and I should probably lower the floor to a 4, because that's what it would be if you have no opportunity to draw the 2 cards off of it. But if this is your curve topper and it draws you cards in an aggressive deck to keep the gas flowing, this is just a really solid game plan. I like this card. Are these people supposed to look like Little Red Riding Hood? Is this the wolf chasing Little Red Riding Hood lookalikes? Alright, up next we have Ground Shaker. There's not a ton to say about Ground Shaker. It's a 7 cost 8/8. When it attacks, you win the game. Like, if you kill 1 relic with it, a 7 cost 8/8 is pretty efficient on the vanilla test. Like, if you are getting more than you're paying. If it attacks, you win the game. if it attacks and the game has been normal at all, then you win the game. Like if you have a 5/5 and a 3/3, that's 16 damage on turn 8, and you'll also clear all the relics. It clears things like there's not a ton of relics that your opponent would still have, but the ones that they will still have are very good. They tend to be legendary, they tend to be cards that grind advantage and are your opponent's endgame, or curses that are stunning your units. So really cool card, or it doesn't actually affect those curses, does it? It only affects curses on the player. So yeah, just very efficient. This is the end game you want if you're fire, because it does block for a turn, and then you get to attack, and they don't get to block at all. Hey Claw, how you doing? We're doing a set review. We're just finishing up. We have this, and well, we're finished. This is part 4 of the set review. Yeah, like the only time you play Ground Shaker and lose is when your opponent just kills it. And there's not a ton of kill anything spells. I think, hang on, let me pull up my stats. I don't remember my removal stats. Here. So yeah, removal wise, there are 4 things that kill anything and 1 stun curse. But like none of the things that deal damage, none of the versatile weapons, and none of the burn spells can touch it. It's just so good. Like this card does just win the game. I'd raise the ceiling to an 8, but like it still just dies to removal. I like it at this score. Yeah, it just wins. Like even if your opponent, it's so hard to attack through, and oftentimes what will happen is if your opponent has a 4/4 and then a deal 4 damage, then they'll attack into it, and you'll still get a 2 for 1 out of it. And that's your worst case scenario. And that's a very good worst case scenario. This 4 of a 6 is if that's when your opponent has to spend 2 cards to kill it, that's a 4 of a 6. If you suspect your opponent has cards like Bust Out, you gotta try and get them to play it before you play the Ground Shaker. So that's why this is a low effort card and not a 0 effort card. Okay, Grove Craftsman. Really cool if you have the hunt deck. The only problem is that fire has the fewest hunt cards. So it works really well in Justice or Time if you have the good hunt cards go with it. There's a lot of primal cards with repeating hunt effects. If you run it in like a 3-color deck, it's hard to splash because of that double fire influence. This card would be significantly better if you could splash it with just 1 fire. But it's a lot of work for not a ton of payoff, and you have to pair it with some colors that don't really... It's hard to splash in the colors I want it. It's still fine. It's just not great. Like, you gotta make sure you have a few hunt triggers, because if you get no hunt, it doesn't hunt on its own. You need to play something else that hunts afterwards. So, like, Grove Craftsman into the Fire Beetle. Great. Grove Craftsman into the 2/2 that has Empower Hunt, or anything that has Repeating Hunt. There's so many cards that have Repeating Hunt, and then they hunt 1, but they're all multiple colors or heavy influence. So you need to find cards that work with it before you pick up the Craftsman. And then if you have a bunch of hunt and a bunch of good hunt, the ceiling is a lot higher. But like, it's not even worth it for like the 6 mana 2/2, 6 power 2/2 that hunts 4 times. That's not enough. You need these cheap hunts to get significantly more value out of the Grove Craftsman. Heated Compromise. Not a ton to say. It's a ritual. You pay 4 and you get to play a 6-cost card. There's like 4 cards you'd want to play, and they're all legendary. So, and even then, you have to draw both of those cards at the same time, and you have to get 2 cards worth of value out of the card you play with Heated Compromise for it to be any good, because you're spending a card on this. You'd almost rather this just be a power, because if this is just a power, then you have 5 power next turn, and you can play a 5-drop. And if that's the case, you're okay waiting a turn and having this just be a power. It's not usually going to be better than a Sigil. Don't play it. If you have a very specific card that works with it, then you want 5 or 6 of that card before this card is playable. I don't even think the ceiling is a 3. I'm lowering the ceiling to a 2. If somebody plays this and you lose on turn 3 because of an advantage, then you can come yell at me. Karina, Embercaster. So there's only 5 targets for her deal 6 damage to a unit. And 3 of them are legendary. 1 is rare, 1 is common. But she's still really good. A 4-cost 4/3 is almost playable. A 4-cost 4/3 with charge is very good. The 4-cost 4/3 with charge and Warcry is spectacular. A 4-cost 4/3 that exhausts an enemy unit is even better, and I'm raising her to a 6. Because it's just, she's always going to feel like a 6. Like, you get 5 You get a 5/4 worth of power for her 4 cost. Very good, even if you're not killing something. You don't have to wait to shoot something with endurance for her to be strong. Kennel Master. So this is a weird card. I love this card. You need a lot of spells. It's not hard to have a lot of spells in fire, but you need to make sure you have them. The thing about Kennel Master is a lot of these payoff cards with some build around effort. You play it on turn 10, that's fine. If you play the Kennel Master on turn 10, it's not good enough. You want to turn the Kennel Master on turn 3 or turn 4 to get the full value out of it, because you wait until turn 10, they're just going to block with their 3/3s and their 3/4s. Either that, or you have to have a good way to use the Hounds. So something like Totemic Munitions out of Cold Hunt is a good way to do it. And this is just not a format where 1-drops are that bad. Like, you can have 1-drops as long as you have uses for them, weapons to put on them. Kennel Master's some work, but it's worth it. It's a good payoff. If you can get 2 Hounds out of it, you're very happy. And every once in a while, you'll play a turn 1 Kennel Master, and your opponent will turn 2 Hunt or turn 3 Hunt, and you'll get to turn it on right away. But try and play it in a spell-dense deck. It's not free. The floor of that is a 2, because a 2 is when this is a 1-cost 1/1 that turns on turn 12, and those 2/2s don't do anything. Because you gotta remember, it always has to attack. You will never be able to block with the Hounds. And if you're not pressuring your opponent enough that those Hounds will trade with units, or that the damage matters, then you don't bother with the Kennel Master. I love this card. I think this is, I know this is a reprint. It's fantastic design. Like, this is what I love. This is one of my favorite cards in the set. It's so cool. All right, up next we have Lava Blood Goliath. Very cool card. It's kind of awkward. The hitting 9 is tough. But if you build around hitting 9, if you are a late game deck, there are better finishers. But this won't feel like a finisher. This is going to feel like a 9-cost 2-for-1. It will deal with your opponent's biggest threat and then your opponent's best removal spell. And that's solid on a mid-rangey control deck. But you don't play this in an aggressive deck. It's too expensive to be a finisher in an aggressive deck. But in a mid-range deck where you will sometimes need to shoot your opponent for lethal, and you will sometimes need to shoot your opponent's unit to live and block with your 6/6, it's very strong. And playing with advantages is kind of interesting. Like, you can spend your advantages to play this on turn 7 or turn 8, but it's kind of just a weird card all around. It's very strong. Like, there's a lot of power for one card. So I did give it a 5 with a floor of 4 and a ceiling of 7, and that ceiling of 7 is in that mid-range control shell. I don't know. I'm gonna lower the floor a little because I will not be first picking this like a 5. I want to already be in this mid-range control deck because there are so many strong cards that end a game. Like, I don't know why Fire has so many of these big game-ending bombs that are just a lot of work to turn on. But there's enough of them that I'd rather have. You need the staple spells first, the ignites and your deal damage and your early trade units and your time cards that draw you cards. You need those first, and then you can play the Goliath. Then you pick the Goliath. It's really hard. So, like, I won't be first picking the Lava Blood Goliath, but there is a fire control deck where this card is just spectacular. Yeah, but the ceiling is always going to be a little bit lower, so I am dropping it. I'm dropping everything 1 point. Just because, so the points are in my pick order. And I'm realizing that I'll be picking the Kennel Master over the Lava Blood Goliath, even though I know they're both legendary. Yes, I will grab a late Lava Blood Goliath. The fire control deck is real, and it's strong. I like it a lot. But you want cards like this Looming Fire Shell first, because those are the cards that give you your advantages that let you actually cast Lava Blood Goliath. Looming Fire Shell is great. A 4-cost 4/4 is just costed just right for limited. It's relevant at every point of the game. It's great on turn 4. It's great on turn 8. The fact that repeating hunt triggers are just very strong. Like Looming Fire Shell is a great reason to pick up some Grove Craftsman, because a turn 3 Grove Craftsman and turn 4 Looming Fire Shell means that you will likely become an 8/8 after your second attack. It just keeps growing. Like, the thing about a 4/4 that hunts every turn, so if you've gotten to play with the uncommon 2/2 with Empower Hunt, you'll have had games where you play that on turn 2 and your opponent plays a 2-2, and then you hunt and attack with your 3-3, and then your opponent plays a 3-3, and then you hunt and attack with your 4-4. And that's how the Looming Fire Shell plays, because if you play a 4-cost 4-4 and they play a 4-cost 4-4 and you attack, your Looming Fire Shell is going to be bigger than their 4-4, and they're not going to be able to block. And then they'll play something bigger, and you have to create a situation where they don't double block you, but that's pretty easy to do, because you will have advantages from hunting. So they will have, if they have a 4-4 and a 5-5, and you can kill one of those cards, then the Fire Shell just keeps attacking and eventually takes over the game. It's such a high tempo play, even on turn 4, that it goes into pretty much every fire deck, and then the ceiling of 7 is for the slightly more mid-range decks with extra removal spells. Well, so the worst this card is a 4-cost 4-4. You know, I think you're right, Sizzle, because the worst this card is a 4-cost 4-4 that demands an answer. And that's, demanding an answer is worth a point. I agree with you, Sizzle. Good argument. Yes. That's exactly right. It demands an answer. Like, if your opponent has 2 4-4s, then the threat of this attack keeps them from attacking at all. Card's so good. Obliterate. Simple card. Kills almost everything. So according to our removal stats, 5 damage kills 91% of all units in this set at common or uncommon. And there are 6 more units that it kills. But the fact that you don't mind throwing this at a 1-1 and if you're an aggressive deck, you want this no matter what your fire deck is. If you're the mid-range deck, it's a great removal spell. If you're an aggressive deck, then clearing a blocker and shooting your opponent for 5 will kill them. It's just good. It's all around good, not a ton of work. There are situations where you may need to put a little more thought into how you're playing with it. Maybe you need to attack your 4-4 into their 6-6 so that you can burn that down first. But you can also just aim it at their face if they're at 6. And you will have games where you get to be like, I'm going to Thundershot you for 6 twice, and then start my turn, and then obliterate you for 6. And they'll be like, oh, I thought 18 life was enough for your 3-card hand. And you're just going to be like, no, it wasn't. Alright, on to our longbow. So this is the best fire rare. I'm double checking that. Yes, this is the best fire rare. There are fire rares that can be stronger in certain situations. The Ground Shaker is very close. The Looming Fire Shell can be as good. But this card is consistent, and it is so... like, it's big enough that you can play it on your stealth and get 2 attacks with it, which is always the goal for a relic weapon. You can play it on a unit that's getting through anyway, and then it tramples and they can't do much. And also, the fire deck is pretty good at recurring weapons, and it keeps that hunt. So if you hunt twice and it becomes a 5-5 longbow, and then reforge it becomes a 7-7 longbow, and play it again, it becomes an 8-8 longbow. It's very good. Yeah, this is a good reason to be the weapon deck, but it's also just a good reason to be in fire. That ceiling of an 8 is if you're already the weapon deck, but otherwise 7 is solid. It's a great card. Fire Knight. Just efficient, good at every stage in the game. If you play it on turn 6 as a 6-cost 6-5, it's great. If you play it on turn 1 as a 1-cost 2-1, it's great. It's really cool in the very aggressive fire decks, but it's also cool in the mid-rangey ones and the Nightfall ones, especially the Nightfall ones, because if you are keeping it night and just drawing lots of cards, you'll have situations where you need that 6-5 for 6, and you'll have situations where you just need to play one more card to get another card onto board, and it's a relevant card. Even that Overwhelm, if it's just a 2-1 body, is solid. It's what you need when you need it. Longbow is very good. Pyro Knight is good. So is Pyro Knight a new card? I really like it. I love these like kicker style cards. They make the game so much smoother. I see. It feels like a reprint. It feels very classic. Alright, Rabbit's Foot. This card's so cool. This is I'm sad they took it off of Relentless Hair. It's not... You want to be a Nightfall deck. It's okay in a Nightfall deck. The problem with the Rabbit's Foot is that if it is your 2-drop, if you play it on turn 2, Well, that's not a threat. It's not a card that you want on turn 2 to, even if you have 4 power on turn 3. Having 4 power on turn 3 is pretty cool, but it's good if it follows up a Pyro Knight in the aggressive deck, and it's good in the mid-range Nightfall deck, which we'll talk about more when we do the time rares. Overall, is weak ramp, so it's playable when you have good cards to ramp into. So if you don't have enough good 3s and you have a lot of rare 4s that you want to play a turn early, or that you get a lot out of playing a turn early, for instance, if you have some Looming Fire Shells or even just the uncommon Beetle, playing those a turn early will often be game over, and then the Rabbit's Foot is a lot stronger. But you have to have 4 drops that make it worth taking your turn 2 off and smoothing out your opponent's turn 3 draws. Cool card though. I think this is a really interesting way to do ramp. I didn't know it was a set 1 card. That's cool. I'm glad that that's viable. World Pyre Phoenix. I'm gonna lower the cost. So this is a cool card. It's 6 cost 5/5. You should expect to be able to play this twice in a game, because a 6 cost 5/5 that becomes a 9 cost 8/8 flyer is solid. This would be weaker in other sets, but this is a set where having a flyer this large is huge. So many of the burn spells will deal 3 damage or 4 damage, and there's not a lot of flyers that interact positively with the World Pyre Phoenix. So this card is a 6 because in this set, there are so few flyers that block it. Like, you have people just playing Arcano Fly with no other blockers, with no other real chance of it killing anything, because that 4/3 flyer is actually just good enough to finish a game. So I think this is a reprint too. I can't imagine it was better in the other sets, unless there were good ways to reduce the cost. You should assume that you will cast this once on turn 6 and once again on like turn 15. And if the game goes long enough that you cast this as a 12 cost 11/11, then you've won the game. Good job. This is a really well designed card. I think it's so cool. That's really cool, Sizzle. I would love to see those decks play. Up next we have Youngblood Driver. Pretty terrible. Being a 4/2 for 4 is especially bad in this set because there's so many 1/1s with Hunt that just will be cheap 2 power threats, and all the 1-drops also have 2 power. If you play this with 2 advantages, it does let you turn your advantages into units, but you need to get at least 3 units out of it to be any good, and that's a lot of work. And even then, the ceiling, I only gave the ceiling of 5, because if you play like 3 spells in the same turn in your late game, that's not better than the other fire finishers we've seen. If you get to make 4 bodies with the Youngblood Driver, then it's still just okay. And that's tragic. But I love this card. I think it's really cool, and I want to see somebody win with it. If you have a good Youngblood Driver game, please send me a screenshot. I don't agree that it's perfectly fine to play turn 3 from advantage, Sizzle. I don't think that's worth it. There are just it's not better than even some of the uncommons I want to play on turn 4. Like, maybe in the mid-range oriented deck. So I gave this a ceiling of a 5 because that's how it feels to me in the mid-range oriented decks, because like an advantage or even just an ignite and a Youngblood Driver is some value. But if you're attacking with this, then your opponent is going to block with a 2/2. It's so much more likely to play with a trade with a 2/2 or a 2/1 than it is with a 4/4 that you need to get value out of holding your opponent's 3/3 and 4/4 at bay with the Youngblood Driver, and then it will still die to a Thunderpop. So it's not enough value on its core body to make the random 1-cost units worth it, unless the random 1-cost units are a lot better than I'm thinking. Like, if you can play it and get 2 Pyro Knights, you're pretty happy. Yeah. If it were a 4/3, I would be very happy with this card. Or if it were a 3/4, or even just I'd play this card at 3/3. I would be much happy with this card. I would give it a 3 at least and raise the ceiling to a 6. But as is, I'm pretty happy with an average of 2, 4 of 1, ceiling of 5 with a lot of effort. If you have a deck that enables this, if you have a pile of Hunt cards, if you have a pile of Ignites, you can play it in the mid-range decks, but I'd still avoid it in your aggressive decks. Like, Ignites. If you have 3 Ignites, there are enough spells that care about this that you can make it work. All right, I'm gonna get more water and then we'll start up with time. All right, we'll be back in 2 minutes. even if you don't have a lot of cards to work with it. In addition to that, the actual activation is really good too. Time has so many like draw spells and relatively expensive attachments that are just a lot of work to pull off. But if you get to pass and then do it at the end of your opponent's turn, or when they try to do something, it's so good. And that's on top of a body that's just very efficient. Charge and Valor on 3/3 for 3, so good. This card is great. This card is gross. Yeah, it is. This card is gross with so many cards. There's so many little combos. We'll talk about more of them as we get to them, but really just cool card all around. Like, if this lets you bluff with so many different things too, just holding 2 power in your hand and passing is a good move. Up next, we have Ancient Stone Shell. I don't know why I thought this is just +1 attack. I'm raising the ceiling up a bit. This card is just huge. Like, it is huge. It is a must-kill threat. I had to raise all the stats one because I thought it was +1/+0. I didn't realize it was +1/+1. I thought this was a 6 cost 6/6. No, this is a 6 cost 6/12, which at vanilla that's a 4. But no, this card's a doozy. It's so big. It's so hard to kill. They need to kill it. We're raising a few stats. Wow, having 6 extra toughness makes it a lot better than it was at first glance, and it was already solid. It's just a big beater. You play it in your time decks. It is tough. 4 influence is a lot. You need to be heavy time. It is hard. But yeah, it's enough to make it a 5. Yeah, 4 time. This is what I had originally, and then I thought, for some reason, I thought it was +1/+0. And now that I see it's +1/+1, like a 6 cost 6/12 is good enough that you can lean heavy time. And generally, if you time decks will be pretty happy with a heavier lean on time. It's hard to splash time, but the time decks in this format will usually be base time with a little bit of extra else, with a little bit of shadow for all your deadly parasites, or a little bit of primal for all of your hunt. But the time decks want to be base time, so time is less restrictive than fire, or primal. It is still a factor, which is why it's a 4 and not a 5, and a 5 and not a 6, and a 6 and not a 7. But if you put this down, it's hard to kill, hard to deal with, and it's worth taking it early. I will first pick this as if it were a 7, and then draft heavy time. Cool card. Sorry, this is going to be the most a card will change after talking to you about it. Dawnwalker! Really cool card. I gave it a floor of a 3 because that is what a 3 cost 4/1 with Overwhelm is to me. If you can play this once, it's good. If you can play this 3 times, it's great. If you can play this 5 times, you're going to win the game. So if you first pick the Dawnwalker, you're going to be looking for 5 attack units as much as you can, and you will be rewarded greatly for having them. Cool card. It's good in mid-range decks, and it's good in aggressive decks, which means that you want to take it pretty high. Diligent Hive Tender. Card is just very efficient. There's lots of insects in this set. The healing is relevant, and you need 2-drops. I talk a lot about how you need the 2-drops in this set because the 3/2s and 2/2s your opponents are playing are very strong. But this triggers everything you want, pumps your insects. It will usually play very well. I'll be first picking the Hive Tender, often. Up next, we have Gastrolith. Card's not playable. Pretty bad. If you play this on turn 6 and you have 4 power in your hand, then you get to play all of them, gain 4 health, and then you'll lose. I'm sure there is a constructed deck somewhere that powers this out. I gave it a ceiling of 3 as a placeholder because I wanted to see if they could find any uses for it. I could not. If somebody finds a use for it or wins with it, please tell me. But like, you really don't want to be in a situation where you have this and then 4 other power cards in your hand. Alright, following this, we have the best card in the set. Hive Queen Uther. What the hell? If you open this card in pack 4, you are now playing time. And it just does everything. I could see that. See that? I'd love that. The Gastrolith with Binding Agreement, that's sweet.
Because you can even get multiple binding agreements off in a turn. Like, that's a combo. But, like, is a combo between 2 6-drops worth it? I'd rather just play, like, Striding Skylines. This is a constructed card. This is not for draft. Hey, Zelda. How you doing? All right, and then we have Hive Queen Uther. Card is just nuts. Like, if you cast this and they don't kill it the turn it comes down, you win the game. Because you no longer have to block anything they attack with. You just gain that much health. If they do kill this in the same turn, then you also put out 4 power of flying. It's hard to kill. You also put out 4 power of flying, and there are lots of cards that make insects bigger. There are lots of cards that care about having bodies in play. It's just nuts. Like, you probably run into this card in Constructed. You probably lost to this card when your opponent played 2 of them and then spent 3 power and gained 6 life, and then spent 3 power and gained 6 life. I've been comboing with it in Standard, playing Striding Skylines to gain 28 life after I play Hive Queen Ether. Hyper efficient, very pushed. If they kill it, you can recur it and play it again, and you'll get the bees, and then they'll kill it again. And you'll recur it again, and you'll get the bees again. It's so efficient. Why does this card exist? I do think this is the best legend in the set. I'm doing very good, Zelda. I'm pretty happy that I finally have some time to finish this set review. Because the time rares are really interesting. In this together, this is a cool Anthem effect. You don't want to be... This is usually going to be played as just an Anthem. Something that pumps your team. That's really good to know, Sizzle. Thank you. You're usually going to play this card as an Anthem. There's just limited Anthems in this set. There's lots of cards that make multiple bodies. There's also lots of less rare cards that make multiple bodies. And being able to pump them all is really nice, especially because you'll get a few advantages. It is kind of random which units get bigger, which can be a problem, but if you have enough units, you don't care. You want to be playing this with cards that care about hunting specifically. Cards that give battle skills for hunting, or cards that give bonus power for hunting, then it's a little bit better. But it's just a fine filler card if it's going to be an Anthem, and the ceiling of that is a 5 if it's going to be a hunt card, if it's going to be triggering all the hunts. There are a lot of cards that care about, like, number of times you've hunted, or whenever you hunt to do a thing, then this card goes up a lot. I really like this card. We are Challenger. We are absolutely in this together. All right, up next we have Insatiable Anteater. This card, I keep complaining that not complaining. I keep talking about Nightfall. The problem with Nightfall inherently is that your opponent gets the extra card before you do, and they get a chance to use the extra card before you do. But the Anteater says you draw 2 cards and your opponent draws a card on a 5/4 body. Just fantastic. This is the card you want triggering Nightfall. This card works with every other card that triggers Nightfall. Like, it is way easier to get the Nightfall cards than it is to get, like, the weapons. And this card also works on its own compared to the weapons cards. So you don't need a ton of Nightfall cards for this card to be strong. You just need a few, and it's very, very strong. Like, first pick this, take Nightfall cards, be happy. The 4 of this is a 4 as if it's... The floor of 4 is if this is only being triggered once, and a 4 is pretty good. Hi, who does that? Good response. All right, up next we have Invoke the Waystones. I do not want to play a 6-cost time card that generates a random card. Compared to the other, like, big expensive combo cards we've seen, this one has some utility, but you don't really want to even build around this. The situation I can see where Invoke the Waystones is good is when you care about milling yourself. It is one of the few sources of self-mill, and it does generate card advantage. So it's not 100% unplayable, but it's mostly unplayable. This is a reprint. I've never seen this card. It is cool. I really like it. It's just bad in draft. Lumen Reclaimer. So card's great. 4 cost 4/4 is pretty good. And then either shuffle, getting to deal with a void is relevant in this format. Some people care more about voids than others. The reason that is a little bit better in this format than others with that ceiling of 5 is that there are cards that care about 7 toughness. So if you are playing like the Pack Rat deck, so this is a good first pick if you're playing with lots of Deadly Parasites and Pack Rat, because if you have 3 Deadly Parasites, you get to put down the Lumen Reclaimer and then start aggressively trading off your Lumen Reclaimers. It also combos with lots of other cards like the Mask. The Mask in the Lumen Reclaimer is nice. There might just be a Lumen Reclaimer Mask deck where you just keep filling your deck with Lumen Reclaimers. Cool card, not like incredible. It's just a normal 4/4 most of the time with a little bit of utility, and I'm pretty happy to grab that. Right. Yeah, so like, I mean, it's not 100% unplayable, but it's definitely not good. All right, Lunar Magus, fantastic card. 3 costs with 3/4 is just hyper efficient. And then this is the card you want in the Nightfall deck because it blocks really well, it attacks really well, and then you gain health. Like, this is part of the mid-range life. This is part of the mid-range Nightfall deck. So good. This card is so good. It will perform really well. You'll take it even higher for the Nightfall deck, but it's always tapped in relevance on its body, and it'll be relevant for a lot of the game. Really cool card. You've probably run into it in Constructed. Up next, we have Pincer Ant. It's just a 4-cost 3/4 with Killer. It's good if you win in the Nightfall deck, and it has the added bonus of if your opponent is trying to, in Limited a lot of the time, you can try and figure out what your opponent is holding up by their specific cost. So like, if they are holding up a card that deals 4 damage to an attacker, you can wait until they have 2 power up because they think they're holding it up, and you know that you have a Pincer Ant to turn it off because it'll make it night, and then you get to kill something without them being able to kill it. I would play a 4-cost 3/4 with Pincer. I would play a 5-cost 3/4 with. I would play a 4-cost 3/4 with Killer. I would play a 5-cost 3/4 with Killer. I would play a 4-cost 3/4 that made it Nightfall. The fact that it has all of these makes it very strong. Pick it high, pick it often. Queen Guard Leaders. I gave this a 4 on the math of it. So if you play a 1/1 with charge on turn 1, it will usually deal 4 or 5 points of damage before your opponent gets down a good blocker. And this card is good in the late game for making a big team much stronger. This card is awkward in the mid game. It's awkward when if you draw it in the mid game though, you are likely to have other things to do. But there's lots of cards in time that are just interact really well with the Queen Guard Leader, and there are lots of weapons and little ways to power up a 1/1 flying charge. Like a 1/1 flying charge is almost good enough in this set, and the Spellcraft adds a lot of extra value. So I gave it a floor of 3 with a ceiling of 6, and that ceiling of 6 is for decks that make a lot of units and have a strong mid game. So it is awkward in that it shores up your mid game and your late, or your early game and your late game. So you need to have cards that fill out the mid game for this card to be good, and then it's very good. It does have an insect type, and that is relevant. There are a lot of good ways to pump up insects. I love this card. I think it's very strong. All right, Ravid, Insect Master, very cool card. It's usually going to be a 7 mana 5/4 that generates a power and makes a humbug, and it does make that humbug right away. It's not going to make an army unless you're winning that game anyway. And it's also a good way to like it's just a good efficient threat. It's not a bomb like the others are a bomb, but you will generate value out of Ravid, and you will get relevant power out of Ravid, and pools of power out of your deck that you won't draw later. So I love this card, and it's not the best time finisher, but there's just a lot of really good time finishers. Hey, Honey Ham, nice to meet you. How you doing today? We're almost done with time cards, so let me know if you have any questions. I'll be answering them between cards. Yes. Oh, I hadn't even thought of that, Sizzle. I forget that I don't always know the constructed things. I'm only thinking about how I would draft these. All right, up next we have Shepherd's Horn. So there's only 10 units in this set with Overwhelm. There are relevant weapons with Overwhelm, and there are some really good cards like this combos with the Carnivorous Terror out of Unleashed. But you don't want to pack one, pick one this, hoping to get a Carnivorous Terror, because that's also a rare. So if you have a Terror and you get past this and pack 4, then you can take it and you can play it. If you need to get more utility out of the Horn for it to be playable. Like, you can get it up to, I gave it a floor of 1 with a ceiling of 4, and it's going to be average 2, because you need so many rare cards for this to be good. But if you have Prospectors, things that care about playing relics, and cards with Overwhelm, you can get a card's worth of value out of this. It's really cool, and I'll be playing with this in Constructed. It's not great in Limited. I see. There does seem to be an Overwhelmed Tribal deck available in Constructed. Oh, so this is a set review for a game called Eternal, Honey Ham. You might like it. I'm really glad to see you on Twitch. But yeah, this is I do set reviews for other games, And this is the last one for Behemoths of Thera, and then tomorrow I'll be starting up. Tomorrow I'm streaming Arena. If you want to see, check out the new set, Honeyham. We'll be using my set reviews to try and hit high mythic. Oh, heck yeah, Comet. I love that deck. Somebody just destroyed me. They put out 2 Shepherd's horns and just played out all of and played a ton of terrors. Because I play too many tiny creatures. Up next we have Sky Splitter, just ridiculously efficient. 4 cost 4/3 with endurance is something I would play in this set. 4 cost, and the Hunt 3 is huge. So this is going to average be a 3 cost 6/5, which is just ludicrous. This gets there on stats alone. I didn't even include the Hunt for cards that care about Hunt. It's just so good. That time is worth it. It's worth picking this first and taking slightly worse cards to play it in your time-centric deck. It is a 4 cost 7/6, 66% of the time. It is a 3 cost 6/5 most of the time, which is just ridiculous. This card should be like a 3/3. It shouldn't trigger the cards that care about having 7 total power and toughness. Alright, Striking Snake Formation. It gets better when you have a lot of units. The awkward thing is the decks that have a lot of units tend to have a lot of 1/1s and 2/2s, which go poorly. The normal case scenario for the Striking Snake Formation is you have a 4/4, a 3/3, and then like a 1/1, and you get the Snake Formation. And then the card's pretty good. You really want to give 2 units killer for it to be strong. I've never seen somebody play this against me in Limited. So I was pretty surprised too. Like, this is the only card in here that I've only seen while putting the set review together. I've never drafted it. I've never seen it in a pack. I've never had it played against me. It's a really cool card. Sunshine, thank you so much for the follow. Very sweet of you. Hey, Honeyham, if you want to join the Discord, I think that you'd fit right in. That goes for everybody. Anybody can join the Discord, but Honeyham was talking about the set review, and today we are about the Magic set review, and today is an Eternal Day. Alright, Teach of Humility. Very efficient. This card's so annoying in Constructed. But just a 2 cost 3/2 is good enough in this set. You need your 2 drops, and if you manage... This card is why you need 2 drops, because you really want to block the Teacher of Humility. The Disciplinary Weights is a relevant card. It stops Unleash, and it stops lots of, even like, Rant. There's so many good ways to draw cards in this set, and Teacher of Humility makes them all into bad ways to draw cards. Pretty efficient 2 drop. Take it high. Oops, skipped a few cards. Alright, Trail Scourge. So 5 cost 5/6 is good enough on its own. If you can deal with your opponent's threats, just 1 or 2 is pretty good. But there's lots of things that make multiple 2/2 bugs, or that will pump bugs. There's lots of token strategies. There's lots of very efficient flying decks that this card is just great against, and even just when it's popping Aegises or clearing the Aegises off of lots of 1/2 soldiers, it's solid. You do have to put some effort into this because you have to not have your own 2-drop units out. But if you know that you have Trail Scourge in hand, then you can start blocking with your 2/2s and your 1/1s, trading them off for life or for putting a big pile of them in front of your opponent's 5/5s. And on the other side of things, your opponent might have a Trail Scourge if they're aggressively trading their 2/2s for your 3/3s and 4/4s. Just an efficient card, and it'll blow you out. It's a good card. I totally get that, Honeyham. Even if you're only there for news and ratings, then you're welcome. But that way that you can check out tomorrow's Magic stream, come ask questions, and I really appreciate you grabbing those timestamps for me, because I will not have time to do it until this weekend. Alright, Warpwood Mist. This card is so cool. It's like not the best. It's a little more work, but if you have a deck with lots of 1/1s and lots of cheap tokens and units, there are cards like there are decks that make lots of 1/2 soldiers where the Warpwood Mist is solid. It basically turns a battlefield into a bloodbath. Really cool card, and that health, the life gain is relevant, but not like fantastic. It just turns all the units deadly. I like this card. I want to see somebody break the game with it. Usually it's going to be pretty average.
And here's what makes it really marvelous.
All right, let me just drink some water and we'll move on to Justice. So Justice is the last color. We're doing the rares and legendaries, but if you are interested, if you like this content, I did put them all, they're all available on Twitch, and then I cut them down a bit and put them up on YouTube too. I'll be working on my spreadsheet tonight and tomorrow so that you can reference this without having to go back through the videos. And I want this to be, so on the spreadsheet, for instance, I do my initial values I give in the set review, and then I'll be updating current values over time as I change my mind on things. I want to do one more stream like this where I talk about all the cards I was wrong about, because that's how this game works. You're going to be wrong about cards. Some cards you have to play with first. So we'll talk more about those later. I didn't get a chance to get my list of those together because I want to finish the spreadsheet and go through all the numbers first. But yeah, this is something that's fun for me, and I hope it is helping if you play Eternal. All right. Ancestral Edge. So this is a versatile weapon. I think it's very strong. I've gotten some pushback from other streamers, but it puts you back in a game that you would have lost otherwise. If you can get it onto a flyer or something with Aegis, or even something just with Overwhelm, it just puts you back in a game that you were racing at parity, or that was very close, or even against the aggressive deck. Even if you're just, sometimes it will just be deal 3 damage to something, gain 6 life, or gain X life. At least 3. However, this is the card that you want to be picking up if you are the weapon recursion deck. This is one of the best weapons to reforge. This is one of the best weapons to return to your hand. This is one of the best weapons to give +1/+1. It works so... I'll pick it early because it's so strong as on its own in a heavy Justice deck, and then it just works so well with the recursion. It is triple Justice, which Justice is not as heavy as as Time, for instance. You don't get as much out of being primary Justice and splashing other colors compared to some of the other factions. But I will first pick this and force the weapons deck. I've gotten the Edge once, and I was happy using it as a removal spell, but the whole time I was like, oh, if I had a Reforge here, I would win the game. Or if I had the Steel Warren Fire Justice uncommon, I'd be really happy with that here. Yeah, so I gave it a floor of 4, and that floor of 4 is if it's just a removal spell. And that ceiling of 8 is if you are the weapon deck. This is one of the best weapons for the weapon deck. Augmented Form. This is getting a revisit note. I think this is so cool. The thing about Augmented Form is it's 100% how well your opponent sees it coming. Because if you spend 6 power and then they Thunder Pop your 2/2 in response, that's devastating. That will hurt your soul, and it's hard to recover spiritually and in the game. But if you get to play this on your 4/4 to jump up, or if they happen to have life steal, or you can use this to punch through damage for a win, it's very strong. Like 6 power at instant speed is really good, and you ideally want to be, so this floor of a 3 is if you're just treating this as a +6/+6 relic. This ceiling of a 6 is if you are getting the full value out of the Augmented Form in terms of recurring the unit that you pick up, or blanking a removal spell at the same time as you're attacking. So if you get to just play this to blank a removal spell or blank an attack and kill an attacking unit in addition to leaving behind a huge unit, then the card's phenomenal. So like, I will first pick this card and try and be a primarily Justice deck and think about how I'm using the form the whole time. But the easier it is for this card to... Like, this is a card that it's even worth thinking about when you pass it in draft. If you pass this card in draft, and then you see somebody with a lot of Justice cards, think about them having this card, because it'll be a real blowout. It is a permanent buff. So, Honey Ham. Hey, Luna, how you doing? We're on Justice right now. So, Honey Ham, this is, Eternal is what MTG Arena Alchemy wants to be. And I think there's a lot of value in playing both games. But I'm going to do a draft after this, and I'd be happy to teach you how to play. It's a great game. I'm pretty happy. This is the last color of the set review, and then I will do some Eternal and give some shout outs. All right, Barricade. This is just a combat trick. +8/+8 feels a lot, but it's only a blocking unit. There are a few cards that benefit from being huge. For the most part, this is just going to kill an attacking unit. It's a bad Thunderstrike. You will still play it because you need removal. Treat it like Thunderstrike out of the common out of Primal that deals damage to an attacker. It does kill an attacking unit if you have a unit. So it's solid and worth considering because you have to have removal and you want a few tricks. Tricks are good in this format. But it's going to feel like filler most of the time. Challenge by Law. So the floor of this card is a 3 because killing an enemy unit is good. 6 is a lot to do it, which makes it bad removal. So if your opponent only has 1 unit in play that you have to kill, Challenge by Law is a good way to do it. It's a playable removal spell. Silencing everything else is strong. So that ceiling of a 6 is when you are getting the full value out of this card, when you are silencing a board and getting a kill. The only problem is sometimes it doesn't silence the unit that you kill. So you gotta be a little careful because if your opponent has something that with a strong entomb that you don't really want to die or that you're worried about them recurring, like you will have weird situations where you don't challenge by law their World Pyre Phoenix. You'll challenge by law something else to silence the World Pyre Phoenix, maybe something weaker. So the floor of a 3 is because it doesn't silence everything. It is still solid silencing a board. I like it a lot. I did not know there were referrals in Eternal. Contempt. I would love to see this card be used. You have to be so aggressive to get the full tempo out of Contempt, but there are cards that care about playing spells. So if you have enough, most of the good ones are rares, but if you have a few of the rares and legendary cards that make it worth, so 3 things need to happen for Contempt to be good. You need to have cards that care about playing spells. You need to actually have it take a turn from the opponent. Like if it blanks your opponent for 1 turn, that's not terrible, but you need to make the most out of that turn, and then that's the 3rd thing is you need to have efficient units. So like this card I don't think is good on turn 2. I think you want to play this on turn 4 alongside another unit and just try and keep your opponent from answering what you're doing. You need an aggressive deck with card advantage that cares about spells, but those things will happen in Justice. You will have situations where you open Contempt in pack 4 and you think, oh, I can draw cards. I'll have a good 1-drop and a 2-drop and a 3-drop in play, and then on turn 4 I can play my Myrmidon Drone 3/3 and Contempt them, and they'll just scoop because then it'll feel like a time walk. Hey Plastic, welcome back. All right, Dazzling Hazebender. This card is just hyper efficient. We talked before about how strong flyers were in this format. A 3-cost 3/3 with fire is good enough. Like that is plenty for this card. The fact that it turns off 2 attackers or 2 blockers, this card is just so strong. Very efficient. It's usually going to play closer to that 6 than at this 5. Just because your opponent is usually going to have units in play. But even if you're just popping an Aegis with it, it's so efficient. Yeah, you want flyers in Justice because there's so many good weapons in Justice too. And even weapons that don't feel like they cost a weapon slot. Ellis Warren Architect. A 3-cost 3/3 with Valor is great on turn 3. A 5-cost 3/3 with Valor that casts Bar the Gates to set your opponent back on tempo on turn 5 is even better. This card will play spectacularly well, and it fits at either point in the curve. There are games that you will just win by playing Bar the Gates to trigger the cards that care about spells. So there's a 4-cost 4/4 common that can't attack unless you play a spell, and I will happily play that card if I have an Ellis Warren Architect. Yeah, this card is just good whenever you play it, and in a set where you need to be low to the ground and have a late game, then these cards with multiple modes that are relevant at multiple points of the game are even better, especially this one in particular because Spellcraft is relevant to all the cards in Justice that care about playing spells. Cool card. Also, it's a Tinker. I love the Tinkers. All right, Empathic Stoat. This is a really well-designed card. It's not good in a vacuum. You got to make sure. So it's a 6-cost 6/4 with Endurance that pumps soldiers and has Entombed Nightfall. And you don't need... If this is just a 6-cost 6/4 that gives it Nightfall, it's not quite good enough. The nice thing about Empathic Stoat is this is one of the only cards that can give you Nightfall on the opponent's turn. So if they use a removal spell or you block with it, then you get to use the Nightfall card before them. And I think it's the only one that does that I've seen. Because not usually that's the balancer of Nightfall. And so that's almost good enough at a 6/4, but you need to be a deck that takes advantage of the Nightfall or a deck that takes advantage of the Soldier buff. It's not hard to be either of those things. So like I gave it a 4, which is good. Like a 4 is above average and it'll usually play like that. And if you can be a Soldier deck that also uses the Nightfall, so if you can be, if you're only pumping one soldier, then it's a 5. But if you are pumping a team of soldiers and you have an aggressive soldier deck where you get to pick up the extra card and use the Nightfall, even if they kill it, you're very happy. It's really cool. Oh, thank you, Starfish. I love this card. It's a stoat that reads emotions and responds accordingly, and that's of course motivating to soldiers. I love this. But yeah, I love Nightfall too. Nightfall is one of my favorite mechanics, but it's not something you can play. Nightfall is not a free mechanic. You always have to think about Nightfall. That's why I like it so much. It really is. It's such a cool card. It's just not a vacuum power card. General Fiera is a vacuum power card. So a 5 cost 5/3. The thing about Aegis units is the handicap of an Aegis unit is that your opponent doesn't have to spend a spell to pop the Aegis. They can just block it. They can win in combat. That's not the case with Fiera. Fiera, as a 5 cost 5/3, will almost always be worth 2 cards. Because what'll have to happen is your opponent will block with their 3/3, and then before damage, pop the Aegis with a spell. And it can be any spell, and it can be any unit. But it'll have to be, not literally, but there are a lot of good 3-power units that they're pretty happy to trade off here. Or even just like a 2/2 and a 1/1. They will put multiple units in front of the Fiera and then spend a random card to pop her shield. But if you create situations where you don't have to, if you play carefully with Fiera and have other Aegis units, then the same is true for all of your Aegis units, and you can just not attack with her. You can just leave her back, and your opponent will have to spend 2 real removal spells on her. The thing about Fiera, the reason I gave her a medium effort, isn't because of your deck building restrictions, it's because you can't blindly swing with her over and over again. I mean, you can, but if you have a few other Aegis units and you just attack with those Aegis units, you can start to figure out which spells your opponent is holding. Because what they want to do with Fiera is either block with a 3-power unit and then use their Storm Surge to deal 4 to an attacking unit, pop that Aegis and trade with her, or use like a pump spell to kill Fiera and then deal 4 damage to an attacking unit. If you don't attack with her, or if you don't give them the opportunity to pop the Aegis for free or kill her in a combat, then they're just going to have to spend 2 real spells on her. And that's so strong. This is one of the strongest Justice cards. She is an Aegis tribal leader. I've never played against her or opened her, but I'm terrified of when I do. I think this is a really cool card. You can. There are some cool activations for popping the Aegis, but like, is it really gonna feel good when you have to spend your turn just popping 1 Aegis? It's so good. What a cool card. Sunshine, thank you so much for the follow. Oh, I'm sorry, that was from before. I don't know why it just popped up. It popped up before too. All right, up next we have Geomar, the Steel Tempest. So we talked a lot about how good flying is. A 4 cost 3/2 with flying and endurance is just good. And the thing is, you don't have to have a spell for that second line of text to be relevant. Because if I play Geomar on turn 4 and then on turn 5 attack with him into your 3/3, if you have a 3/3 flyer or a 2/2 flyer, you're not going to block Geomar. Because if I play a spell to kill something else, then Geomar will grow and kill that unit. So even if you have 0 other spells to go with Geomar, the threat of activation is so high that your opponent still can't do anything about it, and they're not going to block until they have to. One thing about Geomar is he's kind of hard to play with, because if your opponent has a 2/2 flyer, you have to be brave and snap off that attack. You gotta, because it's just so dangerous. Like, they don't want to trade their 2/2 for a hard lesson. They don't want to trade their 3/3 for a removal spell on an unrelated unit. That threat of activation is so strong that you don't need spells for Geomar to be worth that floor of a 4. Like, that floor of a 4 includes the text even when you have no other spells. Really cool card. If you do have the spells, you can't race a 5/4 flying lifelink. especially because they can block as well. And the funny thing about GMR is if your opponent has a 2/2 and you have GMR, because of the endurance, if you bluff an attack of your 3/2 into their 2/2 and they don't block, they now can't attack with that 2/2 either. I love it. I love this card. It's so good. See you later, Honey Ham. Thank you so much for stopping by. It was nice to meet you. It's true. You just have to give it Aegis. Is there any way to force a pause sizzle? No, but like you can't hold control so that it pauses so you can represent a spell. Bag this card. Alright. You cannot fake a pause. I didn't know that, Sizzle. That explains a lot. Alright, up next we have Lord Mayor Horat. Good to know. Thank you, Sizzle. Alright, so the Lord Mayor, that spellcraft Equalize is pretty strong. It is important to note that compared to casting Equalize normally, you can't ever play the. You can't Equalize to an empty board. You'll always at least have the Lord Mayor. But you can kill all but one of your opponent's units, and that's pretty good. And the fact that it grows your whole team and heals you is really strong. I see. Yeah, the card's just really good. I feel that. Who does? I've been trying to pay attention to the pauses more. I just assumed that my opponents were bluffing them somehow. I didn't realize that they always had something when it paused. The Lord Mayor is just good. It's very efficient. It grows your team. You have the option of equalizing. Ideally, it's the last card in your hand. And you get to play it like this card is best when you get to clear some of your opponent's units and clear their hand. And I love equalize. Yeah. You just are like, oh, it equalizes. It plays this legendary spell. But yeah, it grows your whole team. So good. This is just like a really efficient beater. It's a bomb level card. I'm going to go ahead and raise it to a 7. And the floor to a 6. Yeah, growing your team is valuable. I love me some balance too. All right, Lucky Break. It's similar to the 2-cost one that pumps your team. It's just a combat trick. It is useful. So the ceiling is a little bit higher because you can respond to an opposing fast spell. So if your opponent gives something +3/+3 and then you Lucky Break it, feels good. You can get a 2-for-1 out of this card, but only when you're already exchanging attacks. And then if you're already exchanging attacks, this card is great. It's just awkward because drawing it off the top of your deck in the late game, like it doesn't kill a flyer that is beating you down. It will kill a huge unit, and it can be a good trick, but it's not hard removal, which is a problem. Like I would often take Entrapment over Lucky Break, even though Entrapment has restrictions and costs twice as much. It's not hard removal because it doesn't, like Lucky Break helps you win more and it helps you win when you're at parity, but it doesn't help you recover from a losing situation. So if your opponent is just beating on you with flyers, and if you don't have flyers, it doesn't do enough. But you can get 2 cards out of it because it'll kill a unit no matter what, as long as it's blocked or blocking. Like you have to be able to interact with the unit for it to be worth a removal spell. It is very good with Overwhelm. Like the thing is, a 4 is a good piece of removal. We're looking at all the rares. A 3 is a fine piece of removal, but like I wouldn't take this over a piece of real removal. I wouldn't take Lucky Break over an Ignite if I were Justice Fire, or over, well, I wouldn't take it over a lot of removal spells. I wouldn't take it over an Obliterate. Like I do like it. I'll play 3s and I will play mini 4s. Like since you've been here for the rares, so like these numbers are very high, but a 3 is still playable. Like you'll still play 3s. I like the card. Like I will be playing this card. That is all right. I do like that. But even that, like, if you have to combo a card with a much more powerful card for it to be a good card, that's still a 4. Like the ceiling of this card is still a 4. All right, up next we have the Martyr's Chains. This is a game-ending card, but it's not. It's so expensive. It's green, 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 and 9. That's a lot. If you take this card early, you can build your game plan around it and play to the late game. And it's nice that you don't have to empower it. I mean, like, those are all relevant points, but if you draw this off the top of your deck in the late game, then you're not going to win with it. The Martyr's Chains is a card you build around in that it is part of an Uber control deck. You can't run it unless you are a deck built around playing the Martyr's Chains. I'm going to go ahead and lower it to 3 just because it is that hard to cast. But it's very powerful. If you do manage to resolve this and it lasts a turn, you win the game. And you do have situations where you get to 10 power because of cards like advantages. If you can play your advantages and the Martyr's Chains and then play a power in the same turn to kill a unit, you're happy. It does. This card wins games, which is why the ceiling is so high. But like, I won't take this in an aggressive deck. Yeah, maybe I do leave it as a 4 though. It's a little bit better than filler. I just haven't had the games go this long. Like the cards that cost 9, they're cards that I want to play off my hunt cards. I haven't had games go to like turn 10 or 11, but that could just be because I tend to lean aggressive. Yeah, like this is a control card. This is a fantastic control finisher. I love Vayne Parasite. That card's so good. Vayne Parasite was my card for the beginning, but I'm like, this is the sleeper hit. Everyone's gonna be playing this card soon. Oathbook, just a very efficient relic. Lets you turn any unit into a single attacker. It is difficult in an aggressive deck to create situations where you're only attacking with 1 unit, but it's still fine. Like there are lots of cards that just work really well with the Paladin. There's a 1/1 with Aegis and Flying that turn 2 Paladin Oathbook. If you play that on turn 1, will win you the game. Very cool card. Just not part of the like. It's counter to the Justice strategy of putting out a bunch of units, but still very strong, and you will make it work. No, not really, but there are enough good 3-cost units that I'm okay with it. Like, the card's fine. I gave it a 4, floor of 3 with ceiling of 5, and that ceiling of 5 is when you have the cards that combo with it. But it does enable a lot of attacks that you wouldn't have had otherwise, and there's lots of cards that... So the Justice decks tend to fall into these situations where you are at parity, and then you play a card that lets you break through with 1 attacker at a time. Like the 3-cost 2/3 that you can pay 5 to give a unit flying is very good with this card, or even just one of the other cards with like an ultimate or a strong activation. You have lots of situations where you're stuck just forcing through damage on 1 unit through an otherwise stuck board, and it's good in that. That's cool, Sizzle. I would love to. I might build that. I like that idea. Yeah, next we have Quinn Beastheart. So efficient. 3-cost 3/3 Hunt Lord is great. And that so that floor of a 5 is just when it's a 3-cost 3/3 that uses its ultimate. If you have enough hunt cards, this card becomes phenomenal. The random battle skill is lots of fun and usually pretty relevant. You can get some skill, like if you get to play Quinn and give something lifesteal or unblockable, you'll win. It's so cool. You see this card constructed a lot. You should take it high and draft Hunt aggressively. Yeah, I love that. Quinn is the reason that I gave Tusker such a high, like I gave it a higher ceiling. Just this one rare bumped Tusker up a whole point. Oh, good for them. Were they in one of the stories? Thank you, comment. Up next, Rift Disaster. Kill all units. It's a Wrath effect. Wrath effects are good. And your opponent might get to draw a card, which kind of sucks, but it's still a good Wrath effect. You get to play with it. It's got an ever value of medium because Wrath effects are always something that you have to be careful with and think about how you're playing with it. But it's the first, like compared to like Fall of the Spires, you can splash Rift Disaster. You can run Rift Disaster in your Primal Time deck with just a few Seek powers. Cards are really good. Good sweeper. Splashable sweeper. Oh, I haven't seen the story yet. Hey, Bootsy. Oh, cool. Thank you, Bootsy. How you doing? Rift Monitor, 7 cost, 7.7 is solid. Is a little expensive for it to be a vanilla 7.7 and have it be good. But you can, the fact that you can shrink whole opposing teams or grow your whole team is nice. You have to draft is better with cards like there's lots of 0-4s and 1-4s that you can use with the Rift Monitor. You can build around this card. I like it. Also, I love this art. Really just lots of perspective, lots of things happening, but clear which one is the Rift Monitor. I like this card. I'll be taking it, and then taking more Veteran Explorers and Ominous Cahoons to go with it. Skywing, flying free. This card's some work to get down, but if you can play a 3-cost 3/3 with flying and lifesteal on turn 3, you're going to win the game. So draft accordingly, choose cheap cards to go with it. Usually this will come down on turn like 4 or 5, but you're happy with that. It's a cool card. I like 3/3 flying lifesteal units, and I like this card a lot. Spire Chaplain, just very efficient. So a 3-cost 3/3 is good in this set. A 3-cost 3/3 that draws you a card when it attacks is better, and I will take it if I'm Justice. These two gave me a lot of thinking, like which one is better, and I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I think the Spire Chaplain is better than Skywing. I will take the Skywing over the Spire Chaplain pack 1, and I'll take the Spire Chaplain over the Skywing pack 4 if I don't have a deck that works for it. Alright, very last card is Treasury Gate. I give it a floor of 1 with a ceiling of 6 and an average of 3. I will first pick this and play the weapons deck. I will pick this high if I am in the weapons deck, otherwise it's getting passed. You need like 6 or 7 weapons for this card to be good, and then it's really good. But like I've had situations where I've had 4 of the beetles that die into a versatile weapon, and I would definitely play Treasure Gate in that. Very cool card. Alright, so that is the complete set review of Behemoths of Thera. So that plus the last 3 videos means that we have the whole set rated. I'm going to get the spreadsheet together tonight and tomorrow, and then next week I'm just going to do some drafting, and the week after, we will talk about what changed. The rest of this week is going to be spent on the new Magic set, and then I'll be back to more of an even distribution between Eternal and Magic. And felt good. That was my first full set review. I nailed a few things. There's a few things I got to change. Lots of fun all around. Let's switch over to drafting. Do you want to do your coaching comment? Do you want to do that first? I would actually like to do a draft even if I'm not going to play it so that I can get up to speed. And then we can do the coaching session if you're up for that. Cool. All right, just give me a few minutes. Let's play a turn. Let me just change the stream title. Hi. Decan or Deccan? Very nice to meet you. Thank you so much for the follow. All right, I'm going to do a draft. I'm not going to play the game, and then we'll draft with you. So, Comet has redeemed coaching, and that is just something that I offer for channel points. So, I'm going to be doing a draft because I want to get up to speed because I haven't drafted in a few days. And then we will do the coaching session. So, let's take a quick look. Ooh, it is always tempting for me to take the Celix. I like Forceful Interruption a lot. On rate, it's going to be the Grant. So it's between Granite Beetle and the Celix. And the main reason to take the Celix. So I would probably take a different Celix. But I like the Beetle a lot. It's strong in the aggressive fire decks. And I haven't gotten to play a lot of the mid-range fire decks. So it is probably going to be the Beetle. Seek power over the Beetle? The Beetle's so good, though. I'm not going to take Seek Power over the Beetle here. I like Seek Power, but it's not as... I want to already have something to splash usually, so I'm going to just grab this Beetle. Ooh, Swift Subverter is very good. I could take the Bone Picker and try and be Justice. So on power level, it's going to be Subverter, Courier, or Bone... So Bone Picker is just something I want to play with, but it's going to be one of these. I just love the Subverter. This is a 4-cost 4/4. Let's see. Mistral, Tactician. These cards are fine. I love the Subverter. I'm gonna go ahead and grab the Courier. Courier is just strong. All right, so we got a drone. There's an Extinguish, a Thundershot, a Vein Parasite. Notably, there are no fire cards in here, which is sad. It's gonna be one of these Justice cards. It's between Extinguish and Thundershot. Yeah, no time cards either. Exting? Oh, Extinguish. I do love Extinguish, but there's so many primal cards here. Yeah, I'll take the Extinguish. Ooh, okay, so Ignite is probably better here, but I've been wanting to play with this card since I saw it, and I have not gotten to yet. Yeah, no, you're right. I'm going to take Zeot's Recruitment. I don't think that this is the best pick. I think Ignite is probably better. But I've been wanting to play with this card since it came out, and I know that's a bad reason. Yeah, I just wanted to play with this card so bad. All right, now, oh, but Glider. It's a late Glider. Hey, Coil, how's it going? Now, see, this is where I have to decide how much I want to play the Zeoth Recruitment. Because the Glider is the strongest card in this pack. This is the card I've come up the most on since my set review. But if I want to play the Zeoth Recruitment, it has to be the Seek Power. Lightning Strike. I need to commit. I've not been a fan of Soul Collector. It just takes too long to get going. I really like the Myrmidon drone, though. It's been a great blocker. And then Refuge Roller is just good. I feel like this Ignite is a signal, though. That's kind of what it seems like, Sizzle. I'm very happy. We just finished the full set review. Now we do some drafts. Fire Shadow. I'm just gonna take the Ignite. Darkstalker? No. There's so many primal cards though. I could just take the Skull Market Delivery and move Zeoth's Recruitment to the board. So I mean, the delivery is good, but being primal here means that I get to all be primal. I will take the delivery. I like taking deliveries early. Bone Picker, I love. Cocoon and Winter's Grasp are both good. I'm going to take the Bone Picker, though. Oh, that's a really good point, Sizzle. That's a really light Extinguish. It's also a Sabertooth. Strike or Mistral? I'm going to take the Mistral. I don't want to go into... I'm going to commit to my colors. I lied. Because of Winter's Grasp. And a last pick Lightning Strike. Weird. Heated Compromise. We all know how strong that card is. Yeah, I know, but it's so open. Like a last pick Lightning Strike is wild. I think it's just Glider, though. Yeah, I'm going to take the Glider. The Acolyte is tempting. The Cocoon is tempting. I like Hand of Hecaton. But the Youngblood Glider is just nuts. Ooh, Feed the Hecaton. Card's solid. I like the Lantern a lot. And I like the Defiler a lot. But that Feed the Hecaton card's really good. I love the first Snoop. I really love this card, but it's not that strong. I think it's still just Extinguish. And we keep our curve low because we have a Youngblood Glider. I do think so. I know that people prefer Extinguish, but I like Thundershot just as much. If it weren't for the double primal, I'd probably be interested in it. Rogue Supplier. I love Grove Supplier. We're going to take the Supplier. Looks like Shadow is going to end up being more of a splash. Which means that this Caravan delivery is a lot better. I love this Nocturnal Glider too. I'm going to take the Caravan delivery and maybe not bother with the Skull Market delivery. Yeah, it does. But I'm fine just being a Fire Shadow deck. Or I could cut Justice altogether. I just want to play Zeon's Recruitment. So I cut Justice altogether, this Glider is good. I'm going to take the Glider. Now the Heated Combustion. We could have had 2 Heated Combustions. I think I'm just going to take the Warrenborn Mistral. Well, I didn't take the other delivery. I'm going to take the Maggot Swarm just to put into my... Yeah, it's a pretty bad pack. I'm going to take the Maggot Swarm because I have the Skull Market delivery. Here's a good one. All right, what do I have to make the rat work? Not much. I like Hand of the Hecaton. I like Hecaton Defiler. And it's going to be Hecaton Defiler. Yeah. Yep. Very much so. Tenebrous Bone Picker is a good Nightfall card. Hurry Drive. So Hurry Drive combos really well with the Glider, just a hit for 10. And I have a Nocturnal Glider too, but it is double fire. So is Ignite. Primal is going to be a very light splash. I'm going to take the Hurry Drive. I have a Nocturnal Glider to go with it. Mantis Claw is also tempting. Hurry Drive Youngblood Glider is just so good. 10 damage is brutal. Yeah, take the Drive. Drone or Augur. I like the first Augur. I'm not a huge fan of the card in general. I love Cobalt Acolyte, though. And an Amethyst Acolyte. I love Treachery. Collection rounds of Treachery? I have anything to go with collection rounds. Nope, Treachery then. Nico! I feel like I'm the only one who likes Treachery, but I love it. So, Friendly, or Stonescar Maul is a better card. I'm just seeing if I can make Nico work. Indeed, Jersey. It's just full of deck. Maul is still good. Like, it's still good removal. But his 6-drops are awkward in the Nightfall deck because you want to keep your cards flowing. I'm trying to see if I have anything that works well with Nico. I really like Nico. I don't have anything that goes with him, though. Huge Serpent? I'm not a huge fan of the Serpent. I'm trying to... Alright, what do I have that triggers Nico? I have... nothing. Granite Beetle. Granite Beetle counts, right? Nope. I also like Friendly Visit just as a 2-for-1. I think it is still the Maul. Yeah. Armament Collector. This is one of my all-time favorite cards. Servant is tempting. Oxidize is fine. But Armament Collector is the pick. I like one copy of Out Muscle. It's so awkward. But this is a weak pack. And I don't mind Backlash, but I need a little extra value out of it. We'll take the Out Muscle. Do I have anything that combos with Totemic Munitions? Oh my god, Party Crasher would feel great. Good night, Plastic. Oh, real quick before you go, everybody check out Plastic. Oh, I forgot I can put on whatever music I want. Let me change the music. Oh, you haven't been hearing my music. I'm so sorry. I've been jamming all alone. Jamming alone. I love Totemic Munitions. I'm just seeing if it'll work. It would have. I should have taken Nico and forced him. I just love Nico. And I'm being punished. I think I still take the munitions. I don't have anything that goes with the munitions right now, but this is a bad pack. And I like Sleight of Hand, but I'm not really like Primal is my splash color right now. It's a very light splash. I like Shadowfang Valkyrie in the Nightfall deck, but Thrill Seeker is just strong. Oh, let me see if I need this Thrill Seeker. Nope, it's gonna be the bow. Blue Strong Bow is so good. I'll take Consuming Greed in case I get like really late hours here. None. We'll take the rare. It is. Ant is good too. So late Thrill Seeker. Ooh, there's a non-zero chance I open a reason to run this Rakano Adept. And I like Cabal Associate. Elmac. It's a late Hive Hexagon. I mean, like, it wasn't passed, but I'm still happy to see it. All right. Ignite or Kelmac. Kelmac's still good even if you're not picking it up. Like, a 4-cost 4/3 is just solid. I think I need this Ignite. Kelmac's so good. Double Shadow is a little bit difficult. We'll take the Ignite. Gambit or Strategist? I don't get a lot out of the Strategist. It's just going to be the Gambit. I always consider the Strategist. Calculated Sacrifice. Let me say, so sometimes, so this is a pick where sometimes I would take New Prey. If you get something good that works with New Prey, it's a great trick. You just don't always have that. No, I don't have anything that works with New Prey, but Calculated Sacrifice is strong. Ooh, Heirloom Blade. That's like Ominous Cocoon a lot. Good Wormstone. Take the Cocoon. Darkstalker. Awesome. Is that better than Bone Picker? So the Bone Picker versus Darkstalker is going to come down to curve. So right now, before I make this pick, I'm going to decide what I'm running. And the nature of the colors means that I sort of have to decide where everything goes. So like I might not run this Lightning Strike because it doesn't actually trigger most of my stuff. Darkstalker is just good. Like a 3-cost 4/4. But it works well with the Bone Picker. And I mean, it makes Shadow, Fire locked in as primary colors, and I'll run a little bit less Primal. So what this means is I might even cut Primal altogether. Like, Nocturnal Glide is the only card I'd really miss. So, like, if I take the Bone Picker and cut Primal, looks like this. All right, 13. Totemic Munitions doesn't make the cut. Delivery can grab Greed. Zeot's Recruitment. Probably not, but Consuming Greed. Probably the Maggot Swarm gets moved to the board. The Shadow Sigil. One, two. Yeah, it looks like I don't have enough units. So I'll take the Darkstalker and run more Primal. I still like Calculated Sacrifice even if I don't have a ton of units to feed to it. Feed the Flames worth it? No, it's too hard to have double fire at that stage in the game if I'm going to be running 3 colors. Whoa! There's my pick too. So I would take Camp Menace here if I didn't have the Stone Scar Maul. But at this point of the game, this is going to be a heavy Nightfall deck. So let's take the Grasp. I do like Pheromone Flytrap, but it's really hard for me to play, and this isn't a turn 7 kind of deck. It's 3 Calculated Sacrifice too much.
Take the calculated sacrifice. I'll play 3. Not a fan of any of these. Yes, exactly, Sizzle. Exactly right. Hey! There's an ant I wanted, and another acolyte. Alright. Hey, Comet, you ready? I'm gonna get this deck together, and then we'll do a coaching session. We're gonna do some coaching with Comet. Alright, let's get the market together. Treachery, maybe. Yeah, I think that's fine. Might not run the 3rd sacrifice, but I know I'm gonna run at least 2. I don't want to play primal cards that aren't removal or proactive. Lots of cards that combo with the Hurry Drive. Maybe even less primal. Yeah, I have to cut a 3 anyway. 3s, 4s. I would have liked more gliders. Should have first picked that glider. I don't need to block that much. 16 power with a Seek power. We're Nightfall. Out muscle, I think, is just too slow. But I have that works with it. And I do have a Youngblood glider. I have a few good cards to go with it. I'll cut Cobalt Acolyte as just my worst 3. Because I don't want to be so dependent on Primal and so early. I like the 2 Witch's Grasp to clear blockers. Alright. So we're going to do a quick coaching session with Comet, and then we'll play out these games. I'm getting into the chat, and I will be right back. I'm going to go refill my water, and then we'll do some coaching. Alright. We're going to switch over to Discord for some coaching with Comet.
You make me soft, you make me juicy, you make me wet and sweet. You give me lust, like the movie, in translation 3D. And ooh.
Hi. This will just take a sec. All right, now you should be able to hear. Well, okay, now they should be able to hear you.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, it's going okay.
Okay. Let me just get. All right, now I can toggle mute, which means I can talk to them about you.
Oh, and I don't get to hear it. Fun.
I mean, not if you don't want to.
I don't want to hear myself, so I have the stream muted.
Fair enough. All right, I need to do that, and then this. Okay, great. Everybody check out Luna. She's another card game VTuber. She's great. I'll go over here. Okay, so Comet is a very good player, and he tends to draft cohesive decks. And there's not, we're not going to be tackling many of the basics today because Comet already knows all the basics. We're going to be looking at deeper meaning behind the signals that we get, and specifically when to shift plans. So there's a good chance you won't need me at all today, but I think you'll get something out of us talking through these picks.
Yeah, that's kind of... A lot of my drafts lately have been like 2-3s, and that's kind of why I redeemed the thing. I was just getting disheartened. Although I did walk a friend through his first draft ever, and he got 7 wins. So...
yes, so your elo is pretty high, so we need to tackle some more complex concepts.
Yeah.
And I don't think that this is, like, this is going to be more about finding your ways that you can level up rather than me giving them to you. But I think I can be helpful. So let's go ahead and get started.
Real quick, because you didn't know Eternal had friend referrals, I want to show you. If you open your friends here, then underneath your friends list, there's a invite friends and earn unique rewards, which brings you to this screen here.
A Wump avatar.
And you can either send an email or you can get a unique link with the copy link, and you get rewards up to 10 friends.
Oh, I want gold. I want the draft tickets.
Yeah, there's 2 draft tickets, and I don't remember what they get. I think they get a Wump deck or something.
I like it. Okay, we can go ahead and get started.
Okay.
Thank you for showing me that.
Yes. Youngblood Driver.
We could try the Youngblood Driver.
We could try the Youngblood Driver. I don't think we try the Youngblood Driver.
Are you sure?
Am I sure?
Now is the time.
I want to do well, not meme.
So I love the Crawler. The Ancient Widow is a good late game card, but I don't know if I like... I have not enjoyed committing to being a late game deck from pack 1. And I have first pick crowd favorite twice, trying to get the weapons deck together, and have not gotten it together. But now might be the time.
Yeah, I don't like Ancient Widow.
Nah, like it's part of a late game deck, which Chad doesn't really want to be. I'd probably go with, like, in terms of power, I'd go with either Gleaming Crawler or Hive Stinger. I love Hive Stinger.
I like Hive Stinger.
Here's.
I guess I don't look at Gleaming Crawler very highly, but I should.
So the thing about Gleaming Crawler, so Sizzle says it's an easy crawler, and you don't take the crawler for power level, you take the crawler because it's flexible. So like if you end up in the weapon deck or in a deck that eats a lot of things, then it leaves you open here. Whereas the Hive Stinger is always just a little bit of recovery, and it's always I think the Hive Stinger is a lot more powerful, but it definitely commits you more to time. Whereas the crawler there's so many different strategies you can build around the crawler. But I also have not had a lot of trouble getting crawlers. So you can Alva says Swarm. So you can decide a little bit based on your playstyle here. So like crawler, so
Beard Broken says that he wants to Midnight Hunter. This is cool because like this pack is bad, but like then everybody's biases come out, and that's great because you can draft. It's a good game when you can draft according to your biases.
Anything that kills a bee is good. Well, Gleaming Crawler can kill a bee if you get the weapon off of it. Hive Stinger kills a bee. Midnight Hunter kills a bee.
So like I would actually still try and get the weapons deck going if this were my draft, but
I never take Gleaming Crawler. I think I want to take Gleaming Crawler because
Gleaming Crawler is always a relevant body. Like I like that card a lot.
I never take Gleaming Crawler. I think that's what I take.
So what do you think you would take if I weren't here?
Hive Stinger.
I think you should take the Hive Stinger then.
Okay. Hive Stinger was the first thing I saw. It's what I would take. My second pick probably would have been the Ominous Cocoon.
Like the fact is you're not bad at this. So this is not going to be a thing where I force you to take a pick. I will just try to talk you through specifics.
Okay.
So I think like it's close enough that I do think you should take the Hive Stinger. I'm not going to try and convince you off of it.
Okay. So we'll take the Stinger. And
ooh, this is a good pack.
This is a good pack.
This is so different. So I don't like the Horse Snatcher bat. I know a lot of people do, but you could take Seek Power to stay flexible, Beekeeper to commit because it's also really good, or Mounted Archer if you wanted to be, I don't know what it's called, to have time and justice together.
Combray.
If you wanted to be Combray, I like the Archer a lot. I think like it's just efficient. Personally, it's between Archer and Beekeeper, and if you are the kind of person who would take a Seek Power here, then you should take the Seek Power.
I think it's between Thundershot and Beekeeper.
Oh, I do love Thundershot, but Thundershot leans a little bit aggressive. Like so, not that you shouldn't take Thundershot. Thundershot does commit you to Primal in a way that other cards don't commit you to those colors. But
Archer commits you to. Weren't you saying Archer?
So Archer does commit you to Justice. Like you can be a Justice Hunt deck and splash for the other colors. But if you're a Thundershot, I guess you don't have to be aggressive with Thundershot. I just usually end up aggressive when I'm Thundershot.
But yeah, Sizzle says Archer isn't very good. And in my experience, Archer gains you like 3-4 armor, maybe.
So again, I'm biased towards the weapon deck, so it's okay if you don't want to take the Archer. Annotation, thank you, Sizzle. I was trying to remember it.
No, Beekeeper's very good and keeps us open.
Yeah, I do think it's doing Beekeeper and Thundershot. I think those cards are both great.
Yeah.
I think it's much easier Thundershot now.
This looks like a Thundershot to me.
Yeah. Got Scavenger, Entrapment. Winter's Grasp is worth noting. So this is just as an aside for later. There was a Thundershot and Winter's Grasp in the last pack. There's a Winter's Grasp in this pack. Winter's Grasp is a card that's bad until you have a lot of them. So it's a signal to pay attention to.
So every color is still present.
Yes.
But we're only 2 picks in, so. But yeah, this is a pretty easy Thundershot.
I think so. Ooh.
So Hand of the Hecaton is fun with Beekeeper because you can sacrifice the 1/1.
That is true.
Gnarled Ant is okay.
So my argument against Hand of the Hecaton here is that it would turn time into your splash color, because then you'd have double Shadow and double Primal.
Oh, right. We already. Well, I mean, that would mean we're not necessarily.
That's not a huge problem. It's just something to note. The Cobalt Acolyte is solid, but I haven't had any trouble getting the Acolytes.
Right, Acolytes tend to go kind of late.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Hand of the Hecaton in general.
That's fine. I haven't really played with it.
Like the thing is, either the Hunt is relevant or the Deadly is relevant, but not both. So either the option is nice, but either card is average.
The Ant's fine though.
The Ant is fine.
Yeah.
Like that's my problem with it, is it's just fine. Ooh, I love the Seeker.
The Seeker's fun, but we have to get a relic.
Yeah, but it's early enough that you can get the relic, and then the glider is also strong. I like the glider.
The Seeker is really strong if we do get a relic, though.
Yeah, I'd still prefer the Seeker, and Hive Stinger counts.
Oh, that's true. That can be a relic.
Mm-hmm. I like the Seeker a lot, and I like the glider a lot, but you do have to decide, like, this is where you decide whether you want to lean Nightfall or you want to lean gradual accumulation of value.
I don't really like the Nightfall.
That's a good reason to lean towards gradual accumulation of value.
Yeah, Nightfall is okay.
Ant is the strongest card, Sizzle. Sizzle Steam says Pillager Ant is the strongest card, which is...
Pillager Ant probably is the strongest card here.
Yeah, but that card feels like work. That's not a bad thing, but it is work.
I'll take the Seeker.
There's
another Beekeeper.
Ooh, and another Thunder Shot. That's a tough pick.
What a decision.
I take the Thunder Shot just because on curve, getting 3 drops has not been an issue for me.
Yeah, I think so. And we can tell from this pack, at least, our colors look open. It looks like we're in the right lane.
Very happy with that. You'd never pass Beekeeper, Sizzle? Not even for a Thunder Shot? I love Thunder Shot. I would have taken the Thunder Shot.
Time is gone here.
Mm-hmm. The Arcane Stinger is nice if you have enough hunt. Cards like Gentle Seeker, I found, make the Arcane Stinger a little bit better.
Okay.
Hey, Duo. I don't know why Mono Fire is good against Uther Dex Duo. That makes no sense to me. Arcane Stinger, Twilight Lady.
Those are basic. Yeah. I don't like Rat.
Yeah.
Rat's funny, but
you need a lot of synergies to come together for the Rat.
Yeah.
I take the Crawler or the Stinger on power. So Crawler is nice because it hedges towards... Like, it's an easy splash. I've not been a fan of Twilight Lady unless I'm like a dedicated Nightfall deck.
I agree. I don't want to splash yet unless something like Bomby comes around.
Fair enough. If you want to grab that Stinger, go for it. I like the Darkstalker more than Read the Stars.
Read the Stars isn't great.
Like, Read the Stars is a good way to turn on Nightfall if you are the Nightfall deck, and the Darkstalker is a better way to turn on Nightfall.
Yeah.
That's a good point, Duo. Ooh, this is a good pack. Ranger or Winter's Grasp. I think it is the Flyer.
I think so too.
Yeah, I love Winter's Grasp.
Well, we get a Winter's Grasp anyway.
Yay!
And we get a Stargazing.
Stargazing!
Which is not the worst thing.
So I love Stargazing in the proactive Nightfall deck. Woo-hoo-hoo.
Okay.
As good as the Fire Shell is, wow, this is a great pack. It's still Marison's Legacy. It's gotta be.
Yeah.
Like, the Nomad's great, Tending the Hive is great, Acolyte is good, Lurker is bad. I'd almost consider taking the Fire Shell over the Legacy to be Fire. Or I would almost consider taking Fire Shell if the Legacy weren't here and just becoming Fire for it.
Yeah, I would too. Looming Fire Shell wins the game. I would take it. I don't even own any somehow. But it's the Legacy.
Yeah, Legacy's so good. Ooh, I think it is the Beekeeper here. The Acolyte and the Hive Deliverer are both tempting.
And the nice thing about Beekeeper is it turns on our Thunder Shots easier.
It does, and we are a Thunder Shot deck. Yeah, definitely the Beekeeper. Ooh, so I take the Mantis or the Winter's Grasp unless you need the Celix. If you need the Zenith Celix, that's a good enough reason to take the Zenith Celix.
No, I don't. It's a reprint. It's from Argent Depths.
Wait, are some of them reprints and some of them not?
Half of the Celixes, the ones that look like a chalice, are reprints, and the ones that look like a piece of terrain are new.
That's cool. I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah, because even in Thera, the Celixes are giant. So yeah, so
Like that.
yes. So what were we saying? Winter's Grasp
I'm
or
not a
Sting or
fan of the
Mantis?
bat.
The bat's okay.
The chat wants the bat.
The
I'm
chat
not a
wants the
fan.
bat.
Oh, the ravenous bat.
The Ravenous bat.
The ravenous bat is quite good.
The Ravenous bat is quite good. And
Let's
we can
see,
splash for the Ravenous bat.
and it's not a
easy to
huge
splash.
signal. Or it's a signal that shadow is open, but I don't know that I don't know that it's necessary for this deck because you have flyers and you have ways to punch through. Like, I think you just want to be hitting. Like, personally, I take Winter's Grasp because it clears a blocker for you.
That's true.
But Mantis is very efficient. Like, your deck is good enough that I would be looking for ways to win at this point. And
That's true.
your ways to win are either Cautious Mantis to be huge, Winter's Grasp is a cheap removal spell, or Ravenous Bat for evasion.
What are we more likely to see, a Mantis or a Winter's Grasp?
Winter's Grasp, I think we will see a lot of in pack 4.
Okay. Then, if you think we'll see more Winter's Grasps, then I'll take the Mantis.
Mm-hmm.
Hive Hexagon.
Ooh, I do love Hive
Or
Hexagon.
we splash for feed.
Feed is very good. What healing do we have right now? Just the ant and the stinger?
The Ant and the Stinger.
I think that...
But it's a relic for our Seeker.
Yeah, we did just pass a strong shadow card, and we're past a strong shadow card. But Hive Hexagon is a card that I love, and we have a Seeker for it. So, like, this is a direction. You have to decide whether you want to be a 3-color mid-range deck that uses Shadow to clear blockers, or do you want to try and pick up more healing with the Hive Hexagon? Because...
I love both options. I
like the Bat Sizzle. It's just a matter of if it's worth the color. And I think that if we had known Feed the Hecaton was coming, we would have been more interested in the Bat. So, like, that was the gamble. Sorry, I was talking to Sizzle.
Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah. Like, if you take the Hexagon, I would not try to splash anything because then you're running Thunder Shots. Like,
Yeah.
Sizzle says that we should have been Xenon. I think that it's worth trying to stay on the Marison's Legacy plan.
Well, Xenon could have kept us on Marison's Legacy. Xenon is Time Shadow.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, but we would have lost our Thunder Shots. I don't
we're
like
only
losing
in pack.
Thunder
We're only in
Shots.
pack 2.
That's true. We can take Feed the Hecaton and Hive Hexagon are both good cards that...
And there's a second Hive Stinger. We could have had
We could have. We also get a third Beekeeper.
But we also get a third Beekeeper. So this is an easy third Beekeeper, I think.
Mm-hmm. As much as I love Pheromone Flytrap, I'm okay with that, Sizzle. I think that's great. Justice is open. We have a Horrifying Helm. You're probably not playing any of these cards.
I don't think so.
There's a well, there's a world where Horrifying Helm to make 5/3 Bs is worth it.
Oh, that is funny.
I don't think the Druid is good enough, and you have too many good 3-drops. You could take Entrapment. Well, Entrapment doesn't, like... You'd have to open a Justice Bomb to make Entrapment worth it. But Entrapment is the card you're most likely to play out of here. Maybe the Druid if we get a big pile of Cautious Mantises.
Cocoon is playable.
I love the Cocoon. I think Cocoon is very strong.
Cocoon is pretty good.
I like the first Sparrow Augur too.
Yeah, Augur's okay.
Like, 1 Augur is usually something I'm pretty happy with. It gives you something to play for. That's a really late Youngblood Glider.
That is a really late Youngblood Glider.
There's no shadow in this pack. Have you gotten Honeycoat to work yet? I want someone to get Honeycoat to work.
I have not tried it.
Yeah, it's a really late glider. You could just take the glider. They're probably not running it, but I also don't want to deal with it. Wow!
Wow.
Ranger Prodigy was the card I was thinking of when I said to take the entrapment. I just didn't think we'd actually see one. I think it's still just the winter's grass.
I think it's, yeah.
I think you are a tempo-oriented Nightfall deck.
Tending the Hive is fine.
I like Tending the Hive. I always say I'm going to main deck Ruin, and I never do.
So Lake Terror is funny, but I don't think it's good enough.
At the start...
It exhausts at the beginning of your
if
turn.
only it worked with Nightfall. That would be great.
Yeah.
Now, it's between Waykeeper and Grumbo's Platoon for me.
So Grumbo's Platoon is great, like turn 6 to drop 3 of them.
Well, so it's so important to have a 2-drop in this format. But they both do kind of the same thing. But the Waykeeper... Yeah, I'd probably take the Waykeeper over Grumbo's, but it's close. I think, like, Grumbo as a 2-drop blocker is so good, and it's still good on turn 4, and I think we're missing some flexibility right now, because with the Nightfall deck, you need to keep your units cheap, but you still want a late game for when you have some time. So I think it is supposed to be Grumbo here.
Okay.
I like the Waykeeper a lot. If you had more weapons, I'd be more interested in the Waykeeper. Hang on, chat is saying things. Hey, Luna, welcome back. Platoon's just good. I love the Platoon.
Yeah.
Hey, Diva, how you doing?
I can agree with that. Jotun Runt.
Oh, that card's a bomb. I love Display of Survival. I just think we want to lean a little heavier time so that
Display is
going to
be hard to play triple primal and triple time.
Yeah, but the Runt is so good. Like, don't pass the Runt.
Runt is an amazing bomb. So, okay. What was that?
I'm sorry. I got really excited about Crinkle Boys, but it might be the Terrazon.
Yeah.
I would still take the Crinkle Boys. I love
Crinkle
the Crinkle
Boys. Are really good. Terrazon's pretty good, but Terrazon's not like a good Mantis is about on par with a Terrazon.
Yes. So I think Crinkle Boys is just better for this deck because you want to keep your curve lower because you're a Nightfall deck.
Yeah, and Crinkle Boys can take out flyers potentially to let our bees through.
Yeah, Crinkle Boys is good. I do love the hour, but Crinkle Boys.
Ice Glider is...
Ice Glider is a fine curve topper. I like that card.
It is, and it kills something, usually.
Binding Agreement is also pretty great. It's just kind of counter.
Well, we have a lot of 3s, so it might only draw like 2 or 3 cards.
If it draws 3 cards, it's worth it. Like, it does replenish your hand. So what you want to look at, so scroll down a bit. So, like, it is the card advantage slot. So it totally refills your hand, and it's solid in general. But it does kind of put a cap on how many 6-drops we want to run. So, like, we do have a lot of 3s, but we'll cut a few of those 3s. I think it is still the Binding Agreement.
Okay.
There's a lot of cards.
I can agree with that.
Like, we want to win the early game, but that is a good way to recover. Well, I don't like Pin the Jotun, but it might be Pin the Jotun. I think we take Pin the Jotun here and then just try to draft better removal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we really don't want to have to play Pin the Jotun. But at this stage, we do because we're missing removal.
Oh, we're not playing anything here.
Oof. We could take that Party Crasher. I like the Reverberating Strike.
I'll take the reverb.
We're probably not playing anything here.
But we're probably not playing.
Oh, he says Reverberating Strike's a great market card. That's a good point, Sizzle.
If we get a market access, yes.
Mm-hmm. I like Sticky Fingers. So, like, it's good if you pick up more weapons over time. And it's cheap. None.
Nope.
Nothing good combos with the Reveler anymore.
Late Platoon. That's a late
really
Platoon.
Late Platoon.
Wow.
Felix, Recovery.
Felix fixes us, but Recovery is amazing.
Do we have any meat? We have just one Seek Power?
We don't have any fixing, actually. Yet. But we want to play this feed. Ideally.
Yeah. How many Beekeepers do we have?
3.
4 beekeepers too many. We're at 16 units.
Sizzle
3
says more
attachments.
beekeepers.
Sizzle loves beekeepers. I personally would probably take the Celix or the Thick Hide.
Really?
Beekeeper's really good. Well, I don't know that we're running Feed the Hecaton, but my reasoning is that if you can't kill opposing units, you need to keep pressure on, which means you need to keep your units alive. So, like, that, like, Beekeeper is a good game plan.
Yeah.
Recovery is like 2 Beekeepers being broken, but we don't have any ability to splash Shadow, and we don't want to just run Shadow units because we have Marison's Legacy. Like, we can't, our influence requirements are massive. So we have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, we have double primal, triple
Yes.
shadow.
Yeah,
Or
right?
double primal, triple time, and single shadow.
Yes, so as good as Feed the Hecaton is, I don't want to play it unless we aggressively pursue fixing for it. So the question of, if we want to play Feed the Hecaton here, then that means we have to take Feln's Helix and aggressively grab fixing for this pack. And if we want to play the recovery here, that means we have to change our deck around to get the influence requirements under control. So I think Sizzle's right about that Beekeeper. It's just the card we're most likely to play. Personally, I take Thick Hide because I would be playing this as a very planning-oriented, aggressive deck. So, like, I would be playing this as an aggressive deck where I need to time everything that I play, and I need to keep key threats alive. So Thick Hide is really good for making sure that your Jotun Runt gets to attack or survive a killer.
It keeps the Jotun Runt alive, yes.
But, like, that's not enough of a reason on its own. It has to work with other things. But you do have units that gain power over time, or that, like, even just the 1/1 Death Touch gets a lot out of Thick Hide. And I love Beekeeper. I think Beekeeper is the strongest card in the pack. But look at your 3s.
I have a lot of 3s.
You have a lot of good 3s. So, like, at this stage, I think you'd have to cut a unit for the Beekeeper, which is not a huge problem. Like, it's better than the Sparrow Augur, but isn't it that much better than the Sparrow Augur that you want to give up a trick in a deck that doesn't have a lot of tricks? Or Feln Celix is the most powerful card you can take because it enables that.
We're probably not playing Hydrate on a Beekeeper gives us more Beekeepers.
Yeah, he's right that I mean, Hydrate to fill your deck with bombs is nice, but I don't know that you have the bombs for it.
No,
I don't know that I want to fill my deck
so.
with Beekeepers
I don't think we're playing Hydrate.
Yes, it.
And we don't have a relic for Gentle Seeker. That's true.
Yeah. But you don't need a ton, so we're just we'll keep an eye out for it. Like, I think that there's enough holes in this deck that taking the Beekeeper is not a bad thing.
Okay.
I do like Wormstone being broken.
We could take Wormstone. Wormstone's solid. Wormstone gives us a relic for a couple of turns, and then we pop it.
You don't need ways to push big dumb things, Sizzle. Big dumb things push themselves. A big enough creature is card advantage.
I think I'm going to take the Wormstone.
Oh. I don't want to change your draft style.
Yeah.
I want to support it.
So here's the Cobalt Acolyte that we said we were going to get later. Or there's a Living Reflection, which could be funny.
I think you need removal at this point.
Lightning Strike?
Yeah.
Okay.
They like Living Reflection. I haven't had a lot of chances to play with Living Reflection, and you are a good Living Reflection deck because, I mean, targeting like a Beekeeper is nice.
Yeah, or
yeah, but
a big
how often are you
Gentle
going to have
Seeker
two General Horgos, Sizzle? You don't need two General Horgos. One General Horgo wins the game.
Or what if your Sandworm's out? You could Living Reflection your Sandworm.
Yeah, but
or...
I mean, like, Living Reflection, you are paying 5 for. So you have to get a 5-cost unit out of it. How often are you getting a 5-cost unit out of it? Like, if you play a 4-drop and hunt one, that counts. But, like, the power of Living Reflection is predicated on the power of your 4 and 5 drops. And your 4 and 5 drops are just fine. Beekeeper works.
Oh! Living Reflection on your Arcane Stinger counts as playing a spell and then you draw the card.
That's a good argument. But, like, what do you have for dealing with Just flyers coming at you. I mean, that's true, Sizzle. But do we have... Can you scroll down a bit? Our removal is 2 Thundershot.
2 Thundershot, possible Reverberating Strike, possible Pin the Jotun, Hive Stinger, 2 Winter's Grasp.
Yeah. So personally,
Stargazing.
I would. So my pick order here goes Lightning Strike, Living Reflection, Acolyte, Cocoon. And if you like Living Reflection, you should grab the Living Reflection. But I would take the Lightning Strike just because I found that when I am making it night for my opponent. So the thing about Lightning Strike is it doesn't enable attacks. It's a purely defensive spell. Yes, the Living Reflection is more powerful. I don't think there's anything wrong with picking for power either, if you want to just grab the Living Reflection.
I think...
We have time to get more relevant 4s, too.
We do. Well, let's grab the Living Reflection. And then there's nothing in there's Hold at Bay.
There's a Rift Crystal for
There's a Rift Crystal.
Gentle
Actually,
Seeker.
let's take the Rift Crystal. I think. Rift Crystal can get us to our 3 time.
Our first shadow.
Or our first shadow.
And I would want 3 relics before we ran that Gentle Seeker.
There's a Beekeeper, Hive Stinger, Arcane, Seek Power.
Seek Power. So Seek Power is like picking Feed the Hecaton, and Hive Stinger is solid. Sizzle wants you to take the 4th Beekeeper. I just don't like the idea of running a single Shadow Sigil for a Feed the Hecaton.
That's fine. We'll cut Feed the Hecaton.
If you want to run it, then you should, but
no,
I'm not a fan.
No, we haven't really seen anything else worth justifying a splash.
And then without Seek Power, if you're not going to splash Shadow, I don't think Seek Power is worth it.
No. Especially because we got a Rift Crystal.
Yeah, I think
so. A second Hive Stinger.
Love Hive Stinger, and they love
I
Beaky.
do too.
So,
I love Hive Stinger too, but we are only at 16 units, and we might cut and there's a couple in here I don't particularly like, so I think it's probably the Beekeeper.
Go for it. I tend to play fewer units than most people.
Yeah. Another Darkstalker's not that bad.
All right, how much Nightfall do you actually have? You have a Cocoon?
1 Darkstalker, 2 Winter's Grasps, and a Stargazing.
So the question is, do we need Winter's Grasp to punch through? Like, so if we're cutting the Winter's Grasp, then we want that Stonefist Nomad. And if we're keeping the Winter's Grasp, then we want the Darkstalker. Why can't we play Nightfall here, Sizzle? I'd be trying to play Nightfall, but Sizzle says we can't. You only need 8 Nightfall cards for a good Nightfall deck. And we have 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5. So I think we can go for the Nightfall, but the Nomad is strong, and we can actually...
Nomad's strong.
Yeah, and we need it for the curve.
Yeah.
If we're not going to be Nightfall, Canyon Lurker is great.
Yes, Canyon Lurker.
Nomad's just a good card.
Nothing here. There's Vein Parasite.
I love Vein Parasite, but if you're not going to splash for a Vein Parasite... Ooh, Fisher King.
That's a late Fisher King.
I love Fisher King. Makes that Sticky Fingers worth it.
It does. You can also pop in front.
I mean, like, Fisher King
or
doesn't...
a Arcane Stinger.
You have enough Aegis that I'm okay. I'm comfortable with the Fisher King. Please do, Ears. You can always post anything that anybody could consider art in my Discord, Ears.
Another Arcane Stinger. I guess we just grabbed this.
Fine.
We're kind of at the end, and we're cutting stuff.
Yep.
So.
I'm not a huge fan of the Lurker, but if you're not
neither,
running the Stingers, then it's fine. Oh, yeah. I think. Okay. So if we're not going to run the Nightfall package, then we got to just get the Darkstalker and the Grasps and the Stargazing out. Stargazing might be fine.
Stargazing is okay. You don't really want to hit a hunt unit with it if you can avoid it.
No. Exactly. Sparrow or Gentle Seeker is your worst 3,
Yes.
followed by the Sparrow Augur. Sparrow Augur, but it is your worst one. Yeah, and you don't need the Rift Crystal anymore. I don't like the Rift Crystal if we're not splashing. Alright, and we have too many 5s.
We have 4 5s.
Yeah, and Pin the Jotun. So maybe one.
Oh, and a Pin the Jotun. Yeah, Pin the Jotun probably goes.
Yeah, I don't
Does
like
it?
Pin the. Well, I don't like Pin the Jotun. I'm trying to see. So, but we gotta kill things, and I'm worried about our ability to kill things. I like Sticky Fingers here, Sizzle, because it works with the Fisher King, but it is kind of weak. Like we don't have a lot of ways to pump it up. I don't know that that's enough, Sizzle, for the Fisher King.
I think it's too weak here.
Yeah, 17 power is not bad.
Oh, we're at 17 power already?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm okay with 17 power. Is there anything else we want to add?
We could put Stargazing back in. Hydrate. Sparrow Augur could go back in. That's about it.
Sizzle says he'd run 18 power, which is a fair argument. We do have a pretty high curve. $17 is okay.
17's okay. I don't think
I think this will run pretty
okay.
well.
Okay.
We do have Attending the Hive, Sizzle. I think we'll be okay. I mean, Pin the Jotun is bad removal, but it's still removal.
Yeah.
He wants to cut Pin the Jotun for another power.
I think I like it how it is.
Okay. I agree with you, Starfish, but we actually just have enough 3-drops. Which is weird. I never have enough 3-drops. I might run one of the 3-drops over Pin the Jotun.
Oh, that's put what was it? Sparrow Augur and over Pin the Jotun.
Yeah, I mean, I do like the Darkstalker, but I don't think it's necessary here.
The Darkstalker's gonna swing once and then be an 04.
They're making a pretty good argument for running 18 power here. I'm kind of agreeing with them. Well, so the way it tends to work with 17 power, Sizzle, is that you get your power early, like in your opening hand, and then you struggle to draw it later in the game. But you don't always need to draw it later in the game if you're... Things like Nightfall and Hunt help a lot with that if you only need to get your extra power one time. But if we... Like, Thundershot, how often is Thundershot going to be a person rather than a unit that you kill?
Beardbroken makes a good point. Drop Reverberating Strike instead of Pin the Jotun.
That's fair.
I'm happy when 17 power, though, I think.
Okay, let's give it a try.
Okay, so you want to see me play?
So I usually stick around for a couple games. More to see if there's anything I can help with.
Okay.
Like, based on the list you posted, the only thing, like, I think we're on some pretty advanced concepts. Just stuff like playing around drawing cards that you haven't seen, and...
So is this a redraw?
I would throw this back. I don't think you have enough. Like, I do tend to mulligan unless I feel like my hand is great.
This seems like a keep. I think. I don't necessarily want to go to 6.
No, I'd keep this. I like this.
Okay.
Yeah, Sizzle, I feel like Sizzle will say any hand that we can cast Beekeeper on is a great hand.
Look, it's something that Reverberating Strike kills.
Yeah, Reverberating Strike kills a lot of the more aggressive cards, but like there are so many good tricks also. Beekeeper feels real good. Beard Broken, the card I'm most scared of from anyone is Grumbo's Platoon, and then Barbarian Gorillas to a lesser extent. Oof, big Grumbos. Or big... That's okay. You're going to take the 6, and then you can at least trade with the 3-1.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a big hit, but you'll live. Wrench. Hey, I think it's still the Beekeeper.
I think so. Swing for 1?
Is there a chance that you block? Yeah, swing for 1.
Yeah.
He's very good. I think it's the best 3-drop. That's not true. There's lots of good uncommon 3-drops. Yeah, the only reason not to swing with the 1-1 was if we wanted to double block that instead of giving up the B. But the Jotun Runt, I think, means we want to just attack.
Well, now I want removal, and I did not get removal.
I think you just put down the Jotun Runt.
Okay,
right?
Jotun Runt down.
Like, you might take 6, but if you flip the Jotun Runt, that doesn't matter. Says, well, I'd usually swing... Oh.
Oh.
That's unfortunate. That's a good
Well, I'm
bombard.
gonna trade here then.
I don't think you need to. I think
You
you
don't
can Tending
think
the
so?
Hive and Sparrow Augur next turn. So you take 6, you go to
Okay.
9, then you take 3, go to 6. You're spending your life to try and flip your nuts card. Need time. Yeah, Fisher King feels good there. Like you can grind this out. Oh god.
Granite Beetle.
Yeah, that's a nuts draw from them.
And it got
Terrifying.
exalted.
What does Exalted do? I don't know.
When it dies, it puts a weapon with its stats and
Oh,
battle
God.
skills on another unit.
If you go to 3 here, how much damage does it deal when they activate the beetle?
6.
So yeah, there's no difference between taking 6 and taking 3 here. You just have to draw a kill spell for the beetle.
Which isn't good enough.
Well, if you draw a thunder shot, yeah, you lose. A thunder shot there on the beetle would have let you block and live, because you could play a unit too. But yeah, that beetle was too.
Well,
good.
it costs 7 to do that, and they're on 5.
Oh, yeah.
So
never mind.
I'm not dead yet. I'm not
You're
dead
fine.
yet.
You're fine. You'll be fine. You can flip your general this turn.
I don't know if I can be that aggressive. I guess I have to be that aggressive.
Yes,
or
I don't think you
or I
can
die.
win without without some free cards.
The other option would be to Fisher King.
I would Fisher King pre-combat. How did that just hunt?
Quinn can pay 4 to make something.
Oh,
hunt
I
one
thought you used
once.
that already.
Um,
Well, all right. What tricks could they have? It's not an out muscle.
I don't think they have tricks. I think they're just looking to play the exalted unit on something.
Oh,
So I think, and that has taunt. That gained taunt.
that's wild. Okay, yeah, let them be exalted. Kill this shit.
So that's gonna, so Quinn's gonna be a 6/6.
But
With
it's a
charge.
6/6. You can chump. Yeah. So much value. Eventually, that 2/3 will just be lethal. I would attack with a 2/2, but you don't have to.
I don't think so. I'm scared.
Yeah, that was a weird attack, Beard Broken.
Okay. Oh, they discarded that to the
Oh, to the
Rivet's
wrench.
Wrench.
They're just
I was
looking
like,
for overwhelm.
okay, hurry drive. That does nothing. I think I have to do that.
So if you do that, so if they have a pump, if this is an overwhelm, I think you just try and flip the general.
I think I hope I draw. I could swing team here, flip the general, and hope to hit something.
So personally, I take the gamble on flipping the general, but I don't think a lot of people would.
I mean, I'm really close to dead anyway.
Yeah. What does that do? Oh, okay. That's pretty damn
It does
good.
this!
See, Sizzle, we don't need 6 beekeepers to run 3 beekeepers. To hit 3 beekeepers. Yeah!
It does that!
You know what, Sizzle?
Wow!
Each of those beekeeper was only 1/3 as good as General Horgo there. This is a good game.
Okay, thank you for... I was unsure about swinging there, but...
No, that was a full gamble. You could have easily just lost there, and that's why swinging was so much fun there.
That's true. It was very fun. Okay, one more.
Yeah, one more. I mean, would we have, though? We would have had other units. Yeah, the Beekeeper's a good card. But, like, I don't feel like it's fair to say that it was a 7-mana return 3 Beekeepers to play that... Alright.
Is this a redraw?
I would redraw this. I redraw any first hand without both of my colors unless it's very, like, unless it's nuts.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, this is a great example of a hand that I would keep here, but probably not in the first hand. Beaver, so good. Hey, Sox Fox. Look, Sizzle, I'm not doubting Beekeeper. I'm doubting copy number 6 of Beekeeper.
I'm going to get Sox as my friend. He uses green on everywhere he goes. So
Sox Fox, are you Comet's friend? Sox Fox is, or Comet was the reason that I day 2'd an open once. Would not have done it without him.
Her.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, Comet is the entire reason that I day 2'd an open once, because I wasn't going to play, and then she tipped me enough money for me to play, and then I played. I'm very grateful for it. The day 2'd on that second try. Oh, that Marison's Legacy. We have all the influence we need. No, I'm pretty happy with the Beekeeper. I think it's very strong. I mean, Rotting Sickness killing half a card also feels pretty good.
I guess I should have played Augur out instead.
I think it's okay. Like, if they have attackers or a reason to suspect if you have a reason to suspect they have another Rotting Sickness, the Augur's fine. But, like, I'm okay saving the Augur until there's... The back and forth nature of the removal in this format, because, like, the removal scales with the units. So, like, if you can create a situation where they have to use their bust out on your Sparrow Augur instead of your General Horgo, that's usually worth a lot.
Yeah, but now I could have played the 2-drop this turn.
That is true. But I think it's okay. There is merit to it. And you can play to that merit. But we can't Thundershot anyway, Sizzle, because we don't have the Primal.
No, we didn't hit Primal off Tending the Hive either.
Yeah. Like, it might have been an error, but it's an error that we can play and pretend we didn't make.
Well, this is a Marison's Legacy turn.
It sure is. Hmm. I love Marison's Legacy. That was one of the very first cards I ever drafted.
It's a very good card. It's a reprint. I don't remember what set it's from.
It was in whatever it was before Cold Hunt. I don't know what it was in before that. But it was in my very first draft. I did exactly one Cold Hunt draft before I started playing Eternal right before Unleashed came out.
Oh, then it must be from Cold Hunt because they weren't doing reprints in Cold Hunt.
Oh.
They started reprints with Unleashed.
Really? That's fascinating. I'd really just runt and get in with flyers. You get in with your 3/3 too.
I can play 2 units. I can swing both of these.
If you leave your 3/3 back, you can activate Augur next turn.
Oh.
So if you run an Augur this turn and then activate Augur next turn, that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 in the air. So plus 5, plus 6. Okay, so they did take it. Oh, I like that. I would have played that, Beard Broken. Horgo won't fly? Why won't Horgo fly? Oh, because it loses flying? That's tragic. That's okay. They can block Horgo.
Yeah, Horgo will lose flying when he transforms, but it's fine because
you're dealing 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 damage.
Yeah, we'll still get the trigger.
Oh, but now they can't block Horgo to kill Horgo.
We did not get the...
This is true.
I think I pinned the goat in their 3/3. I could put it on my deadly.
That... It's not a bad idea, but it does risk a retaliation spell, and they didn't have it, so who cares?
Okay.
Horgo. Horgo. Horgo's ridiculous. I'm only gonna have time for like one game.
I'm surprised they blocked my deadly unit.
Maybe they have a reason.
But I don't think they're
that's a good spell. That's a good hit.
That's a good hit. I don't think they're the best player.
They're playing real cards, but there's not a lot of synergy.
Yeah.
I mean, you definitely have lethal here.
If I draw a oh yeah, Thundershot face, swing team, or just swing with the flyer even.
Very well done.
Or I can just go the fun route.
I do like that. I think you're right, Beard Broken. There's so many things we could play. There's so many different ways to kill them, Sizzle. I think you'll be just fine, but if you have screenshots that you want to share, please do. I actually, in general, if you send me your... If you just make it a point to post your completed decks and your picks for a while, like, I like your draft style. It's very efficient.
Me?
Yes.
Okay, so you want me to post my drafts for?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really useful because the way you draft is very efficient, but you don't pass up on bombs. So like you aren't losing a lot of opportunities, but if you were going like I don't think that we swung you one way or the other on a lot of these picks. And even just like when the first drafts I saw of yours, since then you are building your deck more as you go. Like you don't need a lot. I don't even you're even doing a good job of playing around tricks, and your sequencing is good. So I think it'll come down to consistency because you're quite good. If we just do
It's the more outrageous plays that I think we're missing for you. So like,
Okay.
and that's not a bad, like that is a problem we see for in only very good players, because very good players are less likely to do something that could cause them to lose the game. So we need to find the weight on those. Sorry, I'm thinking as much as I'm talking. If we
That's fine.
but if you send me your lists, we can make it a point to look for those more outrageous plays. And just doing them, even when it's a bad idea for a while, will help you recognize when it's a good idea. I have a habit of making those outrageous plays a little too often. So I'm working on moving in the other direction. So your lists are very helpful.
Okay.
Yeah. But thank you so much for getting the coaching. I really like coaching in this game.
Yeah, no,
'cause
this
I learned
was
a lot,
this
too.
was nice. I appreciate it, and just the discussion of what's good and why is always helpful, even if we agree on things.
Oh, so Sizzle and Beard, the thing that you're seeing is breaking through is hard in this game, and it's not always obvious that breaking through is hard, difficult in this format, because like sometimes you just lose to 10 damage from a young blood glider right away and don't feel like, oh well, I should have had a flyer out, and sometimes you'll lose to like a big pillager just attacking through. So when you stutter on the board, you need a way to recover from that. And stuttering on the board against flyers is very hard to recover against, because even just like a Nocturnal Glider swinging in as a 4-2 is so efficient, and there's not a ton of cards like Thunderpop. And that's why things like Ignite are such high picks and Calculated Sacrifice is so strong. Even just gaining that life, like this is such a race-oriented format that playing to the race is really useful. And cards like even just the Bone Picker, cards with variable size and with Nightfall that let people draw extra cards, those extra points of damage add up so fast. Like playing with an accurate representation of what the clock looks like is what's most important. So like the clock for both. Oh, I still have my racing graphics. Hang on, I want to find my race. I'll do that for the next game. Next game I'll have my racing graphics up and we'll keep track the whole time. All right, thank you so much, Comet. That was fun.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. I'll see you around. Well, I guess you're still going to be on stream. So I'm going to play just a couple games, and then we'll call it a night. Good night.
Okay, good night.
All right, I got time for like a couple games. For anybody else who wants coaching, I keep it cheap because it's fun. I think I have way more fire than Primal here. Oh, I got to switch scene. You aren't looking at anything, huh? Here we are. So this is the deck we just drafted. We're going to play a game or two. Yeah. And the cards like I love this set. I love this roulette style of Hunt and Nightfall. It's so much fun. All right, I think this is good. Let's just go. I agree with that, but like it's a planning issue. Like the Beekeeper, you do well with the Beekeeper because you play game plans that do really well with the Beekeeper. Beekeeper's also great. I'm not trying to downplay how strong the Beekeeper is, but like I know a lot of people have been struggling with Nightfall. I tend to trophy most with Nightfall decks because I'm good at playing. Ooh. I'm good at managing a large pool of resources against another large pool of resources. So I do tend to end up with a lot more Nightfall decks. I mean, the Beekeeper is just like absurd. It's so good. It's just a matter of how many bees you want. But spreading your power across two bodies is a good idea. Like, this is such a fragile 2-drop. I don't like that the Thrill Seeker's mine's a 2-drop. We're gonna race. Let's race. So this is ooh. So the decision of that attack and the decision of that block are both very interesting to me. It is, but you need so many rats. So I'll take the Parasite before the rat because it's more available. Ooh, so I could put down the Cabal Associate. But they didn't play a real 3-drop. So instead, we're going to Skull Market Delivery for Treachery. There's the 5. There's the 6. So I'm going to save my Stone Scar Maul for this Grizzled Hermit and take this Sabertooth. Time is so powerful. Like, just going through the rares, it was stark how much more powerful time is. Like, the other colors are more synergistic. Let's go Armament Collector and Associate, and then next turn we can Bone Picker.
Mine for the taking.
I really want them to just spend their turn playing out their 05, so I can get the free Maul attack. Planning. I like planning. I like planning and chaos. Oh my god, their name is Youth in Asia. I get it. Yes, Ricardo is volatile in this format. That's why I like it. Ooh, how did they know? How did they know? This feels bad. You do. And the guy is nuts. I actually really like this Bone Picker. I like the Nightfall plan. You have to kind of be all the way on the Nightfall plan. Looks like they're just pumping it. Oh, they're just drawing cards. Yes. Let's get a threat down. I still want to Stone Scar Maul this 05. Let's keep it night. So I'm not going to bother with the... I could have extinguished there, but I would have wanted the Bone Picker down instead. It's so... The really aggressive decks, like, in any given game, aggro is the easiest way to keep your opponent from doing what they're trying to do. Dang it. I'm not going to be able to take out their 05. I'll probably just extinguish it. Let's see what I draw, though. Maul does get Frenzy here, but that on 7 power, if they play their Grizzled Outcast and activate it, then that plus Nightfall kills my Stone Scar Maul. Ooh, that's hot, though. If I Witch's Grasp on Cocoon is just funny to me. I don't think that's a good enough reason to do it. I don't think I even have to bother with the Frenzy here. Just have a plan for the Outcast. The only question is, if I bow here and shoot them, then they might block here and they might block here. But I don't want to give them the option. And it still dies to Nightfall anyway. Ooh, and if they're just going to damage me, I'll extinguish it. But I don't want to extinguish it. I'm okay with this because they're not going to maul it next turn. If this dies, I'm pitching Fire and Advantage. Yeah, and I'll leave this back to block, so I don't want to take 4 damage. I just want to kill the Outcast. I love that if they transform this, it stuns itself. I wonder how they knew how badly I wanted him to play the Grizzled Outcast. Yeah, you win. I'm not going to get to just kill the Grizzled Outcast for free. I'll have to use this Extinguish. If I play both of these to get the Darkstalker out, then I'll have to pitch the Extinguish if this dies. And I really don't want to pitch the Extinguish if this dies. So we'll play a power and hold 2 things. I'm not feeling scuffed up age today.
Your sword.
Sweatpants. I'll do some Gambino. Got a sword. Euthanasia. Are you watching this stream? Nope, they're not. I could just offer this trade. I think I want to keep it Knight, though.
Of course it's safe.
I'm giving up 3 damage in order to keep it Knight longer. I don't think they're cheating. I was just joking.
Make no sound.
I should have just played everything. I forgot that this attacks for 4, which was silly of me. I did not see that coming. Okay, I was worried that they would bounce this and kill this. Don't be mad, cause I'm doing me better than you doing. Don't be mad. That's weird. Why would you do that? Sure. That's a sigil I won't draw now. Uh, 6 damage is lethal next turn.
Make no sound.
No, I mean that was the correct bounce. It was just a surprise. I didn't think they'd want it to be Knight. Like, I'm out of gas. Knight is bad for them right now.
Watch this.
Mm-hmm.
Stay on the path.
Yeah. As much as I don't... Maybe I should have kept... Oof. So I shouldn't have played the power. I should have kept the power and the advantage, and then so I could discard them and play the glider post-combat. But now I'd play the glider pre-combat, which informs their blocks. So that was a mistake. But it doesn't matter if they don't block the Darkstalker. Looks like they have removal for it. Oof. Well, they still messed up. You gotta block the Darkstalker. Yeah, it's Night. Sorry. I think they forgot it too. I love Nightfall. Alright, one more game and that's gonna be it. Fiendish is drafting. Let's go raid him after this. I don't know who I've only ever played against Fiendish. Oh, it's so close. It's really close. Damn it. Hey Fembox, how you doing? It's not a great hand, but it could be. We can draw a primal, get this glider down. I've not had like any time to play. I gotta catch up. Everyone's so far ahead now. Been doing too much magic. So tomorrow the new set comes out. Have a great draw.
You're worth more
Okay, having to trade with this if I missed this hunt. But I didn't miss the hunt, so it's all good. I didn't know Finish streamed. Kind of glad though. I'll block. I gotta. Them says something I really want to pump. Oh, I'm scared of why they attacked with the Tinker. But we're going to play our Flyer. We're going to play our huge Granite Beetle. Then we're going to get this hurried drive in. First chance I get. I might just hurry drive here next turn to ensure I punch through for 8. Like, I'm full on race mode. If they attack here, I'm just going to kill this and keep attacking. This calculated sacrifice really is good for racing. No blocks. I don't think they'll block here. They might if I play the Beetle. Yeah, we're going to play the Beetle, and this is going to be the last time I have to go shields down this game. I should have waited, because if I missed on the Beetle, I wouldn't have attacked with it. So the fact that they blocked with their 4-3 tells us they have another way to turn on this rat, and there's a very good chance it was whatever they pumped with this Tinker. And the fact that they attacked this Tinker, even though it would die, tells me they had something that was worth sacrificing the Tinker for. So it could be a Golden Horde's Minotaur. Or it could be nothing. We just get to extinguish here, and they'll be very sad about it. Alright, so that means that this hurried drive is lethal. But even without the hurried drive, this calculated sacrifice is lethal. And we're going to hold it up just in case they have a kill spell here. Oh, this song. This song is so... Calculated sacrifice is so good. I love that card. Fair enough. Alright, we'll call it a night there. I'll get the set review up as soon as I can, and I will spend some time tomorrow getting it moved over to spreadsheets. If you happen to play Magic, tomorrow is the release of the new set. I did a full set review for that. I haven't done the rares yet, but I will. And last time I was able to take the set review to number 1, so I'm hoping I can do that again. For now, we're going to go ahead and visit Fiendish. Be nice. Good night, Comet. That was fun. Thank you so much for getting... So, okay, I would like to talk about this really quick. Calculated sacrifice, you don't need... It's a planning card. So, like, I mean, that was a great example. Your opponent has to run removal to deal... Like, so I drafted 2, or drafted 3, but I'm only playing 2 of them because there is a limit on how many you can run without cheap bodies. But the fact that you can play it in response to a removal spell means that it's not pure card disadvantage. Like, it is a 3 damage burn spell, which you'll need, that you should assume your opponent is going to kill your creatures, your units, and then it's good. If your opponent's killing your units, calculated sacrifice is good. You're welcome. I'm going to be doing mostly Magic this week, but I will do Eternal on the weekend again. We'll talk about which cards changed in ratings, and just draft a lot. Very excited for this format. I'll draft it as much as I can. And let's all go say hi to Fiendish. How long has he been streaming? To buy Las Vegas after this roll. Come on, 7, 7, 7. Let's go.